We are live.
Happy Saturday to you, Dave.
All that's missing is cowbell.
Instead of more cowbell, we need some cowbell.
I got the shaker going though.
Oh, guess what, though?
What?
We're not on.
Yeah, we're on live. That's our backup.
Okay, well, good. We're on live. We're now also on recording.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was, that's a great intro.
Yeah.
Newsboys.
Good Saturday morning.
Yes, good Saturday morning.
I heard you learned how to peel a banana. As you can see just how well you
I could take that as a racial compliment.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the fact that I'm still eating my banana.
That's right. Yeah. I've been doing it wrong for like 48 years. And then, I always thought you peel from that stem. The riper it gets, the harder that stem gets, fibrous and that. And then somebody said, peel from the other end. So this morning I said, Daddy, hey, stop, peel from the other end.
He saw me struggling.
And he just eyes like, wow.
It was like,
life isn't so rough.
Revelation. Yeah, it was weird. Who would have thought? I mean, all my life, like you, I was trying to, and at home, what I do, I just get a knife and slit, and then it start peeling. You know, once you crack or a nice sharp fingernail, you break that, and then it. Yeah. But now that you have hipped me, as they say in the hood,
that's bonus this morning for showing up on time for the show.
Yes. So everyone from now on, you do not peel a banana from this end. You peel it from the other end.
So easy.
It makes it so easy. So thank you, Dr. Van Rittingham.
Okay. There you go.
Yes.
And congratulations on the healthy mid-morning snack. Bananas?
Yes, after my quick trip snacks, my honey bun.
Oh, yes.
And no, what is it? It's the apple fritter. I'm sorry, not a honey bun, an apple fritter, which is probably worse.
Yeah.
And a donut.
I
couldn't just do one thing. I regretted it immediately. Let me add that. I regretted it immediately. So
I learned early on these cheap cut rate hotels that say continental breakfast. I'll do that. I'm sorry, but donuts and orange juice is the worst way to start a breakfast.
It really, continental, no, forget it. I've got to have some eggs. Yeah. Bacon is good or pork sausage.
Yeah. I'll put a plug in the chain Homewood Sweets. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Oh,
I think they're all starting to compete for that. Holiday Inn Express, Homewood Sweets.
Yeah, they're a little more upscale than your Motel 6 type thing.
Yeah. But now, see, some of them, what I don't like, I'm trying to think, when's the last time I stayed in some place or a couple places, and they want to charge you for the breakfast.
Oh, yeah, the old fancy traditional ones. They have got a 5-star restaurant.
I think Marriott charges you, and some of the others, Hilton maybe, but don't hold me to it. Hilton maybe was one of the ones see, here's the thing that makes it difficult. You don't know if it's Hilton anymore or Marriott because they have other hotels under different, but they're owned by the Marriott. Yes. And there's basically three. There's the Marriott Corporation, Hilton, and Holiday Inn. Those are the main ones. But under each of those main headings, you have all these little under hotels.
Yeah, Hampton Inn is a Hilton brand now.
Right.
Didn't used to be, but yeah.
Right. So you may pay for breakfast at a Hilton, but have it free at the Hampton, which is weird to me that, because Hampton, I think, has very nice rooms. Everything is nice. And yet they throw all the bonus and it's cheaper. But if you're going to stay at a Hilton, then you're going to pay more money for the same size room, basically. Yeah.
But you don't share a building with the riffraff. That's a problem. My daughter was a night clerk at a Hilton. They gave her the title of, front desk manager, right? Which meant you're the one in charge and you're all by yourself. And here she is, a pretty little
risk.
Pretty little college girl, and you got all these drunken revelers on a Friday night, and yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I was asked to speak in St. Louis 2 years ago, I guess now. Yeah, about 2 years ago, or December, or a year and a half.
Oh, sure, that conference, the Muslim guy.
Right.
Had you
and so I came up there to speak. It was a black conference, whatever, and they put me up in a hotel that normally here in Tulsa you would think really great place, but in some cities it's not so great, and this one wasn't that great. Smelled like smoke, even though it's non-smoking,
right?
But you still had, and what did it? All the non-smokers would congregate outside the front door, and they're all standing in front of the front door smoking. So you got to walk through that, and then somehow the smoke
just carries in,
or straight up at all the rooms on that side there, the AC unit would suck it in. There's different factors, but it reminded me. You and I are old enough when you used to be able to smoke on airplanes.
Oh yeah,
smoke on flight.
Yeah,
and until when the pilot, you would wait for that smoking light to go. I don't know why. If you on an airplane, why are they still building airplanes with a no smoking sign? Have you noticed that? I mean, it's still up there, and it'll, but the X is always there. In other words, don't smoke. Why not just take that? I mean, the rule is you don't smoke on the airplane, nowhere, anywhere. And so, but they still have that stupid light on, just taking up space, and it stays on the whole flight.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's sucking up energy.
Yeah.
But anyway, back in the day when you could buy a smoking seat or a non-smoking seat.
Sure.
The problem was if you were in the last 3 rows of the non-smoking, you might as well have been in the smoking. And what really ticked me off, here's what was really bad, is the smokers would buy tickets in the non-smoking area. Then they would come back and stand in the smoking area. They had seats in the non-smoking, but then they would go back and smoke in the smoking area, just standing. And so you had all the people in those rows back there, those last 4 or 5 rows, and you had the smokers from up front that would come up and stand with them, and they're all shooting the breeze, having a good old time back there smoking, and all of that smoke is just coming forward. And then if you had to go to the bathroom, bathroom, you had to walk through all of that. Yeah. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So when they finally banned smoking, period, anywhere on a flight, it was a happy day. And I say that as a former smoker. I smoked for like 3 years in college. When I was in college,
when you were cool,
my senior year of high school, a girl did it. Eve made me do it.
There you go.
But it was Eve. It was Eve's fault. No, anyway, I really did. I was trying to play around with this girl that I started dating. She used to smoke. Next thing I knew, I'm hooked on cigarettes. The weirdest thing, you don't think that's how you get hooked. You don't think you've heard of I can not get hooked. I was hooked, and it finally was able to quit about 3 years later. But anyway, but I used to smoke, and now what I found, smokers who quit, you almost develop like an allergy to cigarette smoke. Like you'll smell it instantly, and it'll affect you. Your eyes will burn. It does stuff to your skin.
So some people are nauseated by the smell after they've quit.
Yeah. It really, once you've actually kicked off of it, it's the weirdest thing. Like if I get around cigarette smoke now, it just messes with me, So, but I thank God that I
want to say something to that.
It was hard.
Yeah. When as a kid, 6 kids, and mom and dad in a little Ford Falcon. I don't know if you remember them. They aren't any bigger than a Chevy Cruze, right?
6 kids in a Ford Falcon?
Yeah.
Not a station wagon?
No.
Just a Ford Falcon?
Yes.
Okay, imagine a Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
About that size.
Yeah. And
would you have them on the parcel shelf in the back?
Yeah, and Dad had. I mean, he was a chain smoker.
A lot of lap sitting.
And yeah,
I'm still hung up on the number of people.
Nancy and I were the two youngest, so we had to sit in front because they were bench seats in those days, front and back, right? And I'm sitting next to Dad, and Nancy's next to me, and then Mom, and then the 4 older kids are in the back. I was fighting over who gets to sit by the door. But I'm sitting next to Dad, who's a chain smoker, and we're driving to visit Grandma an hour away, and it's like 10 degrees out, right? In the middle of the winter.
So the windows are up.
Exactly. And I'm just like, God, I can't stand this. Well, anyway, so fast forward another 10 years, and I'm a teenager. And I got a job working down at the gas station and hanging out with the ruffians. And I got to be cool. So I started smoking. And you know what? For the 3 weeks I smoked, I was sicker than a dog and couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, it's this Marlboro.
Oh, that's the thing, too. It was Marlboro. Yeah, we all smoked Marlboros.
Well, for a while I was menthol and, but
Salem's, I bet.
I think it was Marlboro Menthol. It just
Marlboro
come
Menthol.
out.
Oh, okay.
That was a new brand.
Oh, yeah, you're a little younger than me.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, Salem and Cool.
Cool. Well, that's the black people.
There were no blacks in my town. Cool is still a pretty good seller.
Oh, well.
Because my gas station sold cigarettes. So mind you, I'm 16. I can sell cigarettes, but legally I can't smoke cigarettes. It was never enforced.
That is
in
funny,
fact, our high school, when I was 13, actually I was 12 when they built a new high school. They put in what they called the compound outside the math department back of the school. And it was the designated smoking place for kids in high school.
High schoolers.
Yes.
Smoking area.
Yes. Before that, we were told to go smoke on the south side, which was officially the front entrance to the school.
Right.
And so all these state education dignitaries would all come in and you'd see a long line of people smoking there. And then the teacher's lounge is just a cloud of smoke. It was a different world back then.
It was. It's funny how things have changed. You wouldn't think of it anymore. And it's funny because, the Cool and Salem was the other. Salem was what women smoked.
Yeah, Winston-Salem was a big label.
Right.
The Winston cigarettes and the Salem.
Salem were the menthol.
Menthol, yeah.
But the women smoked those. And because they're lighter, because Cools were packed full of so much nicotine and menthol that you would get high just from taking a drag on a cigarette. Yeah. But that's why, like in the black community, it became known. Black people smoked Cools, and then white folks smoked everything else. And
remember the feminist
Winston and Marlboros were the big.
Yeah.
And if you were really tough, if you were a tougher cowboy, the Cowboys or
it's all about
Aggies,
image.
They were Marlboro smokers.
And in the 70s, if you were a feminist woman, it was Virginia Slims.
Or Virginia Slims, yeah, those long, elegant cigarettes.
Yeah, I tell you, it was all marketing. Yeah. But I tell you, going back to your thing about the sign on the airplane, it goes back to that hippie revolution era song. Sign, everywhere sign.
Blocking out the scenery.
Yeah. Because it was just, if there's a sign, well, then we can't do it. Somebody tells you, some cute little stewardess tells you that, okay, but it's a sign.
That's going to make the difference.
Yeah, people think because it's written and posted, it's more serious.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, Dave, happy Saturday to you. Another week. The end of the week in August 1st was marked by a precipitous fall in the stock market yesterday. It just hit everybody. Wham. Well, let's say this. The big fall was in all of your high flying stocks, your tech stocks.
Okay.
Your tech stocks took a big hit. There were some others under the radar that didn't take as big of a hit. But overall, the market still fell. They fell like 1,000 points on the NASDAQ and in the Dow, the main ones. And so a lot of people will run for the hills and panic and everything. But the thing to do when it does that is not panic, just buy more. wow, that's low, buy low and wait for it to go back up, because then when it gets back up to even, it's not even. You've actually made money again. So.
Well, that's what I was saying the last time, beginning of April.
It's deja vu. It's almost like we had this discussion. We talked a little bit about this in April. I think.
Well, yeah, we had your friend Mike Macy,
right? Right.
Candidate for governor, and a very sharp guy in economics.
Oh yeah.
And he said, "Look, we are quite due for a 10 to 15% correction. They call it a correction. Now, when it goes up." That's never a correction. Is when it goes down. They're trying to soft sell it so that you'll get it. But it's a 20% off sale.
Right.
Because that one, well, actually, that was a 10% off, because that was a 4,000 point drop.
Well, see, here's why. Because that same type of a drop 20 years ago would have been a 50% drop. In other words, because this market goes so high, let's say if it was above 40,000.
Yeah.
So if it drops 1,000, it's only 1,000 of 40,000.
Yeah.
If it was 20,000 and you have $1,000 drop, it's twice as bad. So it feels twice as bad.
Yeah, but I think looking at
this is a 5% correction versus a 2% correction.
I think percent is the way you have to judge it.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. That is the way you have to judge it, because you can't go by the points.
Yeah.
Because what used to be is now.
Well, like, who can afford to buy a full share of Berkshire Hathaway?
Oh yeah.
They deliberately have it up so high.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's never split it.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of stocks like Google did that. Tesla, Tesla split theirs, and sometimes, usually a lot of them, what they'll do, Apple's another big one, and they'll do a 10 times split. So if it was $1,000 a share, now it's $100 a share.
Yeah.
So, but you have that many more shares. They give you more shares at a lower value.
I think Warren Buffett just doesn't want beginners investing in his stuff. He's literally saying, I only want the
savvy investor.
Yeah. And, whereas some of the other ones, especially if you're an upstart company, God, you'll take any investor.
Yeah. Well, what's nice now for you out there who have never decided to dabble in the market, you can buy slices.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is that your phone? Must be your phone.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's funny. I'm here away from it. I'm here
vibrating on a hard surface.
So anyway, but you can buy stock slices now for $5. So even if it's Berkshire, I don't know if Berkshire Hathaway allows slices now, but say Google, Apple, one of the big ones, Nvidia is another one that had a big rise, and Netflix is over $1,000. That's what I missed out. I sold it when it was at like 3 something, and 6 months later it's at over 1,000. But anyway, so because you can't buy, you may not be able to afford 1,000 at a time for a whole share. So, but you can buy a $5 share of a share of Netflix.
Yeah, and that's not the corporation trying to help you out. That's the brokerage houses.
Right, exactly. The brokerage houses, right? They do that for you. But it's really a sweet deal. It's allowed everybody to be able to get into the market now. And if you do your dollar cost averaging, let's say you got $50.
Yeah.
Do $50 a month, in a year 600, and 10 years 6,000, and you pick a good stock. It's going to continue to rise.
As much as, Mike Macy thought I was kind of giving him a hard time on some of the interview, he and I definitely agreed on this. That was a time to buy. And I followed up last week's show. I said, if you would have taken Mike's advice, then you would at this time have a annual percentage rate profit this year of 80%.
Depends on which stock.
Right, but it was 20% increase in the Dow Jones Industrial since that April.
Right, but that's taking an average of all of the stocks in the Dow.
In the Dow, and I just said if you just did average, you would have increased your portfolio 20% since April. some of you might have been better than average, some worse, but on average, you would have had a 20% portfolio kick.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no, that's true. But again, if you got $100, there's $120, so 20, again, that's what I'm getting at. It's how much you can afford to put in but you're right. The average is what you want to deal with going forward and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Okay. A lot of people are down on annuities. Okay. Annuities basically are a low risk, a fixed indexed annuity. You can buy, and I like fixed indexed annuities for elderly people.
Yeah. And
I'll just explain this real quick. Like I put my mother and father in one. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now I'll give you this. 20 years ago, when I put them in this, the rates were a lot higher. They were giving a bigger. What they did, they had to cap it because the prime interest rate grew so high that they weren't making money. So they capped it. Now it's harder to do it. Back then, sky's the limit. But whatever your annuity did. But basically, here's the deal on annuities. I'm trying to hit too many things at one time. I'll stay focused on this. An annuity basically is a breadbasket of funds and stocks that an insurance company, usually it's an insurance company that does it. And so you invest in that. But a fixed indexed annuity, what's good about that is it'll ratchet up. Mm-hmm. But you can do a 1 month, 1 year, 2 year, so that it'll pay at the end of a month, it'll pay after the end of the year or end of 2 years. But the good thing about it is whatever the gain is, you won't lose. You can't lose.
Yeah, I just want to compare it for my sake and for our listeners. Okay. And by the way, you're listening live from the Eddie Huff Intern Studios to Fresh Black.Coffee. And we got to brand this thing, Eddie. Okay. Everybody brands, Okay. And so we're at the live from the Eddie Huff Intern Studios, and we're talking about finances. Yeah. So it used to be back in the late 70s when we were in really big trouble with inflation, that money market.
Things. But Dave, you want to throw something. I want to finish on the annuity.
No, I am. I'm actually identifying this by comparison.
Oh, okay.
CDs, certificates of deposit,
CDs, right.
is very much like an annuity instead of buying from the bank. Now, it's different, but I'm using it as comparison.
Yeah, but it's a lot different because you're locked into a CD and you can't get rid of it
without penalties.
Right, without penalties and so forth. Okay. Well, annuity has penalties as well.
Yeah.
But the difference is a CD is locked into whatever the Fed rate is. That's how it goes up and down. Whereas annuities move according to the stock market. So it's two different deals.
From a user's perspective, a person that has a chunk of money that they can commit for a certain period of time, that's one of the things where they are similar. A CD and an annuity, where you certain amount of money, certain amount of time, and what is my expected return?
Right. But you can have a CD paying you 0.5%.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
They're horrible.
Yeah.
But an annuity, you can. Today, the big ones are paying probably 7.5%. Now there's some which don't have an end, a ceiling on them. But anyway, to get back to the theory of how an annuity works, they invest in the market for you, and as it goes up, you go up, and you can buy a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, 10 year. Now you're locked in where you do have surrender penalties, but what I like about these are fixed indexed annuities, and they index them to the stock market,
right?
And so as it goes up, you go up. But the good thing is, whenever it goes up, you can't lose. So if the market drops 50%, you still stay where you are. Yeah.
That's a good deal if you get that.
Well, it is.
And not all annuities necessarily have that feature.
No,
right?
And that's what gets me. If you've seen this ad of this guy, I won't mention his name, but he always says, I wouldn't be caught dead with an annuity. I don't want an annuity. Well, okay, they're trying to down talk so you will buy stocks from him, his company. But now it used to be a minimum of $500,000 to get in. Now it's $1 million. You've got a minimum that you can invest to take part in what they're offering.
Sure.
Well, our audience, most of America, is not anywhere near $1 million, much less 500,000 that they have to invest.
Yeah.
At once to start.
Right.
So to me, the stock slices are the way to go.
Yeah. I'm just trying to help because, Eddie.
Or an annuity if you're older.
I understand CDs. I understand, money markets and stuff like that. And I was just borrowing part of that to say, okay, an annuity has some similarities to this. Now the next thing is mutual fund investing has a little bit of similarity to what you're talking about, an annuity tied to.
Right. The difference in annuity and mutual fund is, you're buying a basket of stocks and they have no limit, but they have no floor either.
So a little more risk, a little more possible reward.
And the fees are pretty much comparable to what an annuity is. Okay. So you may, now some people, So, it's just a different take. In fact, but see, mutual funds are really not in vogue anymore. Now they have what are called ETFs, electronically traded funds. And the ETFs, it's similar to a mutual fund, but they have lower fees and they seem to perform better than it's funny. Somebody's always coming up with something new. It's like life insurance. Okay. You can do a term policy. You can do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year term. You can do a whole life. You can do a universal life, a variable life. You got all these versions of life insurance, but in the end, it's the same thing. And there's another thing that is very cool. And it's called self-banking. I don't know if you've ever heard.
Yeah, you mentioned it to me off the show a couple of times. It's
right, and it's a really, really good deal. It's hard for a lot of people to understand or imagine.
It is,
and but basically, what is you take a whole life policy or a universal life policy, and you put a certain amount of money in it. You buy it and if you have the money to be able to put in, let's say, $5,000 upfront, or there's limitations to what you can do legally, depending on how big the death benefit is. But let's say you have $5,000, you put it in there, and then the next year you put in another $5,000. You're just basically paying your life insurance policy early. But the thing is, you can borrow against.
Yeah, it becomes collateral.
Right. You can borrow against it. So let's say you've got 10,000 in. You can actually borrow a lot of times up to 8,000, take it out. Okay. Now you're supposed to pay it back.
Yeah.
And you want to pay it back because that money that's sitting there in reserve, not paying, because your death benefit is still going to be the same rate as a term policy. So let's say your life insurance policy is paying you 5%.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you borrow money, even though the money is not there, they're still paying 5% on the 5,000 or 10,000. Let's say, even though you took 8,000, you're getting 5% on 8,000, but you've got the 8,000 here. Then you pay it back, and you pay it back at interest. So if you add 2%, 3% on your payback, you're basically borrowing from yourself with a 3% interest rate, but you're actually making, so ultimately you're making 8% up to 8% on double the amount of money because they're paying you on what's not in there and you're paying what is in there. So you double it. I hope this is clearer than mud.
But Eddie, the self-banking, I think that's the term because who stands to benefit from somebody employing that vehicle for funding whatever they need money for? Does an insurance guy get something out of that? Does a banker get something out of that?
No, because you get insurance companies get or agents, let's say, get paid a commission based on the death benefit.
Yeah.
So whatever the death benefit is and whatever the set premium is.
Yeah. And they get paid.
You don't get paid on the overage.
They get paid up front, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Largely.
Right. But if somebody cancels, then it's a chargeback.
Okay. So,
yeah.
But what I'm saying is maybe the reason we don't understand that concept is it's in no professional's best interest to explain it to us.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. But I think a lot of people don't. It took me a long time to understand it. And I'm still not very good at explaining it. Like at this, if I could sit down with you for an hour and draw it out and show you.
Yeah, you're giving us the 5-minute version.
Right. But it's like I said, it's a real, here's the other thing, the beauty about it. Okay. Life insurance is non-taxable.
Boom. Yeah.
So that $5,000 you're taking out, you're not paying taxes on it. Okay. And then, so it's like paying yourself and then you pay it back and you take it out and you pay it back, you take it out and pay it back. So it's almost like a tax-free investment. But so let's say I've built up $30,000 over 10 years or so, and I want to buy a new car. Instead of taking a loan out from GMAC or whatever finance company, I take it out.
Yeah.
And I pay myself the same interest that they're going to charge me.
Yeah. Now that life insurance payments you put in, those are after-tax dollars. So you've already taxed those dollars. Right.
But that doesn't seem to matter with Social Security, does it?
Yeah. Rush Limbaugh said something similar, and you help me out if you think I'm confusing this. The 401k is a vehicle to get around paying income taxes up front by putting it into a retirement.
Or an IRA, basically. 401 and IRA is similar.
Okay, yeah, retirement money.
Right.
And he said, now, a lot of people say, well, if I need the money, I'll have to pay penalties and taxes and all this. And Rush said, you don't take money out. You just get a loan using that as collateral.
Right. That is
and you'll leave that money there. See, a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know that.
Right. And the other thing, there are two types of vehicles. There's a Roth.
Yes.
Okay.
That's after tax, though.
Right. Right. But you will never pay taxes in the future on that money.
If they keep their promise, Eddie.
well, they have so far because a whole lot of people have done it.
Right. Okay? Yeah.
So I would rather, because if you put them next to each other, this one you're not paying taxes now, but you're paying later. Well, you're going to go into another tax bracket. And as you take it out, they make you take it out. So you have to start at 72 and a half, you have to deduct a certain amount. They have a formula that the government, of course, for that. And so whatever you take out, they tax that amount. That has to be declared on your income tax.
On a Roth?
No, not on a Roth,
the other
on
one.
A regular IRA.
Right.
Or a regular 401k,
right.
Whatever. But on a Roth, then normally it's $6,500 that you can put in there. Okay. And then,
or if you're married filing jointly, it's double that.
No, it's not totally double. I can't remember what the amount is.
Okay.
But it's not double.
Okay.
So, but anyway, they have a max that you can put in. But here's what's weird. The government does so many weird things. There's another Roth you can do for high income earners, and you can put up to like 18 or 20,000 in a yearly. And so, but anyway, on that money, as it grows, it's after tax money, but as it grows, you will never, when you hit 69, when you hit 69, you can start taking it out, and you never pay taxes, even while it's still sitting in there growing. You never pay taxes.
So you're not paying taxes on the principal, or well, you've already paid on the principal, but the interest is accruing tax-free forever. Okay. And then that's something a person transacts with a banker, right? A Roth.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's several ways. You can, with a banker, with an insurance agent,
Okay, so
with even a coin, you can either put gold into whatever monetary vehicle you want to use. You can set up a Roth account.
So it would be any licensed security agent, right?
No, you don't have to be licensed.
Really?
Well, I mean, the bank, you put it in the bank, you can set up a Roth savings account.
Okay.
A Roth CD.
Yeah.
Roth is just what makes it tax deferred.
Right. But you're licensed to sell insurance, but I think you have a separate license on securities, right? Or no?
Only stocks.
Okay.
So, or those type of vehicles, not on, I'm trying to think of the term. Like I can do annuities. I can do a fixed annuities, variable.
Okay.
So any kind of variable product, whether it's stocks, mutual funds, bonds, etc., where it's variable, but on a fixed annuity, you don't need a license. CDs, you don't need a license. Things like that. It's I guess they want you to be licensed on things that are going to put people more at risk than others. That's right.
Yeah, because every so often there's a Bernie Madoff, and
yeah, Bernie who made off with a whole lot of money, people's money. Hey, we better move on. This will take.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but I did want to say one other thing that's somewhat related to that. We've often heard the term the marriage penalty in taxes. Like if you're single filing individually on your taxes, you have a certain deductible. I forget what it's called, but if you're married, it isn't double that. Income that you start paying taxes on.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
If you're filing jointly.
Yeah, it's a proportion above. Right. Yeah, it's not right.
And often people have referred to that as the marriage penalty. Like the government is oppressing people or punishing them for being married versus living together.
Yeah, because some people you can actually file separately.
Right.
And then you don't have that.
Right. If you want to get any kind of benefit from the healthcare exchange, a subsidy, you have to file jointly in order to get that.
Right.
But I want to say, to the government's credit, they actually reward you for staying married, though.
They should. Yeah, they should.
Here's how they do it, Eddie, is when you retire, let's say the wife's been home for the last 25, 30 years, raising the kids and then doing whatever. And, you just want to live simply and not be your rat race of 2 careers, 2 incomes and stuff. And let's say she really hasn't earned very many Social Security credits. For staying married to guys like us, our wives actually get the spousal benefit at retirement that they haven't earned. It just is half of what we are earning as a Social Security, benefit. Am I wrong on that?
No, but yeah, that's a tough one.
Or they take the better of 2. If they've earned enough credits, they can take their own, what they've earned.
Right.
But in certain cases, let's say the farmer might have always filed and paid Social Security, both sides on his, but he did not say, well, half of that was my wife. And now all of a sudden she's like, what the heck? Well, now she's in a place where as long as she stays married to him,
she gets his.
She gets, in addition to him getting his normal amount, she will get 50% in addition. And then if he dies and she survives him, she takes over what he gets as long as she stayed married to him.
Right. Once he's dead, she only gets his.
Yes.
She won't get hers anymore.
Right. But it's going to be double that spousal benefit that she was getting, because just for being married to him, even though she didn't have his Social Security credits, she got a spousal benefit
true.
once she retires.
Although if she had left him 15, 20 years earlier, made more than he did and put more in, she would actually get more.
Right. But see, the government wasn't collecting taxes on her income because she wasn't making a separate income.
Okay, we're talking apples and oranges here. Okay, again, what I'm saying is, if she got divorced and got her own job, then she gets her own, and she ends up making more than he would. Then she would end up with more than she would.
But she would have been paying in. Right. In this scenario, she hadn't paid.
Oh yeah. If we're looking at that, here's the but bottom line is you're looking at the retirement benefit. But see here. Social Security is really messed up because, several things. But first of all, the one that has always bothered me, is if I make $125,000, I get taxed or pay into Social Security 15%, which is the employer and my portion. I pay
FICA, they call it.
Right. I pay half and they pay half. So, but 15% goes into Social Security. So basically, if I make $125,000, I'm paying about $19,000 to Social Security. That's what they're taking every year. If I make $1 million, so let's say what percentage? It's 15% of my. If I make $1 million, it's still the same. It cuts off.
Absolutely,
it stops, and so. To me, that's not fair. I don't like it. Now you can come back, because if I'm making $1 million, that's 15% on the 120,000, 25,000. Then I make $1 million, it's only 1.5%.
Right.
10 million, it's 0.15%.
No, I actually support that system.
Why?
First of all, it's not a government benefit. It wasn't sold to us that way. It was sold to us as you put that money in, you get drawn out on the credits you earned. And to sell it, they said, look, we're only want to make sure everybody's got some kind of, and this was the point, it was supplemental. It wasn't supposed to be something you relied on. It's much like myself. Right now, I'm actually retired, but I'm still working. I'm still able to work. Not as grueling a days, but that's how it was sold to us. And they said, okay, we're only interested in taking your first whatever amount, and the rest of the money you make, if you're really successful, really go get them, and you're doing well, we're not after everything, because that would be socialism.
Yeah, but what you're basically advocating is socialism light on a portion of the income earners.
It is.
Right.
But they limited the socialism.
Exactly. And so to me, no. To me, it's either or. Either you charge everybody 15% on everything they make that year, or you charge nobody 15% on what they earn every year. To me, and let them invest their own money.
Yeah.
Now you have a choice to do it. And if you want to opt out, let people opt out, let them opt out. If they want to opt in. So what I'm saying is, so if I'm making up to 150,000, you can put 15% into this for years, your retirement, or you can invest it on your own. Now, that's really because I can make more than 15%.
Yeah, the Galveston Project was one of them.
Right.
And ministers.
Right.
Your ministerial income, you had the way of opting out on your ministerial.
Yeah. And so if I'm making, because they figured really Social Security is paying you 1%, 1 point something percent a year interest on your money, return on your money. So everything they take out, you're earning about 1.5%.
It's pathetic.
It is pathetic. So why not let me do that with my money? Now, the reason they do it is because you have a lot of people out there that won't even pay 1% of their.
When you're living hand to mouth, it's hard. When people are barely getting by, it's hard.
I disagree.
Here comes the insurance salesman.
No, it's not the insurance about it.
Well, no, you have to tell people that, hey, you're young, you got a family, you need to discipline yourself and get a life insurance policy. That's a very valid thing.
Well, and set a certain amount aside every month.
I'm not belittling what you're doing. It's a very important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
See, there are two things that everybody should do. And Bill O'Reilly was really big on this. And I have to say, he's right. Mm-hmm. It's the 10 and 10 rule. Mm-hmm. Okay. You pay 10% to the Lord first, your tithe. Mm-hmm. Okay. You pay yourself 10%, and then you live on 80%. Mm-hmm. That was it. Whatever you want to do beyond that.
Pay yourself, that's the investment part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And he said, if you will do that, if you will do your tithe and then the 10% every month to yourself, putting in a bank, a mutual fund, or whatever, a slice. Mm-hmm. If you start doing that when you're young, by the time you get to 65, you won't have any worries.
You know who did the very first nationwide implementation of that we know of? Joseph.
Oh, Joseph, yeah.
In the Bible, because, the Pharaoh had a vision.
The 7
and he had the wisdom to understand the meaning of it. He said, okay, we're going to have to set aside some of the grain. Mm-hmm. And then when the famine came, they had just enough to keep everybody alive. Right. But it was forced. It was coerced. Mm-hmm. It was God delivering them through socialism.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it was socialism, because I don't know if he took the same amount of grain from everybody or what. Right. The proportion, there's some differences, but in the end, I mean, bottom line is, I say, Bill O'Reilly, thank you everybody needs to practice that rule. And the earlier you do it, the better you will be.
The first time I signed up for a life insurance policy, it was actually Preferred Risk. Those guys. And I went with them because I was a young pastor in Minneapolis, and the preacher discount is huge. And then they said, well, we're at it, and I'm like, because I was paid a pittance at that church. And this insurance salesman was so smart. He says, what could you set aside each month? And when I told him $10, he said, okay, well, here's what we can get for you. And I didn't have an objection anymore, because I already told him I could afford it.
Right.
And then I was all set, going well. And then 2 weeks later, they got a letter back from the underwriter denying me the preacher discount, because I was under 25, and we can't give a preacher discount to anyone under 25. And I complained. I said, so you're punishing me for going out and spending my whole life, starting young, to do the Lord's work. You guys call yourself a Christian business here, but you're going to punish me. And he said, look, you have every right to tell us, go jump in the lake.
Yeah. Go
fly a kite. And then he said, no, what do you want to do with life insurance? I said, well, wherever that kite went, that's where that goes too. Yeah. And so, but I like how they sold it. First of all, asked me, seriously, what could you set aside?
Right.
And once you know that, then it's just shopping for the right.
Yeah. To me, there are two. There's term and there's permanent life insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Permanent is known as whole life, universal life, variable life, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got term life, which is pure insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay. So years ago, the 700 Club, they had people on, and they started advocating getting term life instead of the permanent life. And then whatever the difference is between the rate you would pay it for a whole life policy, you put that money aside in some type of savings or investment.
Yeah, Williams really sold that. Remember?
A.L. Williams.
Williams.
But that was, they were, I won't say anything. Let's just pray it was a ripoff, okay?
Yeah.
Because their rates were much higher than your other term policy.
I agree with that. I'm saying they really pitched that idea of tied to investment.
Yep.
There are better insurance companies, but their sales pitch was good.
Oh, the sales pitch was good, but yeah, the funds and things they would put people in were high dollar, high value, and your insurance was more. And so you end up with, it just wasn't a good, you would have been better off just doing it on your own without them, buy the insurance, the term insurance somewhere, and then find some place to do the investment. But anyway, what I was going to say though, so if you're young, starting, you don't have a lot of money, then to me, term and invest the difference is the way to go. Okay. And I always, the younger you are, the better are, because you can get a 30, even up to a 40-year term policy where you're locked in. I just wrote two twins. I just wrote a couple of twins, and for $100,000, it's $11 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're like 19 or something, but it's, I mean, you think $11 a month. I mean, come on. And they just started working, out of graduated and working. But, for the next 30 years, they're pretty much it. And if they will invest at their jobs more and more and more, then they won't need the insurance, because basically insurance is what you need when you didn't save your money earlier.
Well, yeah. And, you could say, well, inflation cuts away with it. But, now that my kids are growing, because I did that, a fixed term up through age 70, rate's still the same each year, like 300 some for $250,000. Well, now $250,000, it doesn't seem like as much as it did 20 some years ago.
It's more than nothing.
Right. But I don't have 3 kids that I'm raising.
And ideally, the other thing is your house should be paid off.
Yes. Right. So they say the older you get, the less you should be counting, or your survivors be counting on.
Right. Exactly. So that's for that. Now, the other option is, if you've got the money, if you got a high paying job early, you come out and you're a CPA, or you're an attorney, or doctor, or whatever,
successful business,
whatever, then that's when you get into the self-insurance deal. And you basically put a big chunk. You may get a $1-2 million life policy, and the monthly premium at a young age maybe $500 a month, but you're going to put in $5,000 or $10,000 a year extra. That money just builds and builds, and you go back to the borrowing from your own policy and paying it back. Yeah. And so these are totally different strategies depending on what your level of income and age are.
Yep.
And so sometimes people get it confused. They conflate these things with each other, and you don't have a single.
It's a funny thing. You see all these financial investment companies advertising on things like golf tournaments, places where, they're marketing this to middle-aged men. But really, if you can reach the kids in their late 20s to 30s, that's really the prime candidate.
To me, when they start working.
Okay.
Now boys are different. Men are different from women. Instead of boys and girls, but men. So men, their rates actually go up when they hit 18 until about 24. Then they come back down because apparently, statistically, that's the highest risk for young men of dying.
Yeah.
And so you go up. You may be, like I told you about the $11 for a female, it's probably going to be 15 to 16. And by the time, you're 21, it might be at $20. But then at like 23 or 24, it goes down again. Because they think, okay, if you survived, if you made it this far, you're going to be okay. You're back to a level age.
It's interesting. That's the same demographic that we highly recruit to our military.
Yeah.
Because we want those who are willing to be aggressive and take risks, and take the hill one more time.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, that's a little bit of strategy and how you can and maybe should do it.
So don't sweat it, guys. Yesterday's market went down, but I'm telling you, somebody's investing right now, even now after hours.
Yeah.
Now,
I want to say this too. One of the things that affecting everything is that the Fed is refusing to lower the prime interest rate. And that's what people are waiting. There's two things involved. And yesterday, two of them hit. the Fed meeting, I think they had it Thursday, they said they're not going to lower the prime interest rate. Okay, so that was one thing that worked against it. Trump wants to get rid of Jerome Powell, who's the chairman of the Fed, who is totally a never Trumper. He tries to fight him all the way around. But anyway, so that's the one thing. The second thing, the tariffs kicked in.
Yeah.
They kicked in yesterday, August 1st, the tariffs kicked in. And people are just afraid that the tariffs are going to hurt the economy.
Yeah, no, the tariffs are for nations that didn't cut a deal.
Right, that have not yet cut a deal. Exactly.
So we're talking China. Who else? Russia, of course.
Yeah, right.
And Russia's actually getting hit with extras.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. African countries.
Yeah, some African countries or some Asian countries. Several have come to the table, though. So several have come, and I think we cut one with NATO, as I recall. I think we. Not NATO.
EU.
EU, yeah.
Yes, that we got a great deal.
Right.
Because it's not, our products are not going to face additional hits, but they're now going to pay 25% tariffs to ship a Mercedes to us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But now here's the thing, too. Two of the prime countries that didn't are Canada and Mexico. That's the ones we have not come to agreement with.
Well, yeah, see, he was hitting hard, and then he realized his treaty that he made in his first administration, the USMCA. He's committed to the terms of that.
Well, apparently not, because he's raised the tariffs on Canada.
Well, yeah, there are things, but he's limited in how much leverage he can do without violating his own.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but he can easily do that. If he wanted to, he can change that. But Canada refused to comply.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to still, it's weird how much hatred and animosity Canada has developed towards the U.S. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember during the hockey season when American teams would go to Canada and play, or in the All-Star tournament. Or they were playing Canada and the U.S. and they would play the national anthem, and the Canadians would boo our national anthem, which is just stupid to me, because you're supposed to honor a country, Yeah,
but you know how that started. That was Donald Trump all the way.
Well, of course, but I'm saying it still should not affect you. To me, you know what it's like? It's like the animosity Black Americans have towards Republicans.
Yeah.
And it's all started over some stupid thing that was implanted in their minds by certain leaders.
Yeah, but this was Trump with Canada. It was his dig against little Fidel.
Well, yeah. Oh,
Justin Trudeau.
Okay, then let them attack Trump.
Right, but what he said is, you guys would be better off seeking to be the 51st state.
Okay, that's fine. In Canada,
that triggered them.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
they were triggered over something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We know Trump says stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know what we found out is how insecure they are about their identity. Because that shouldn't have bothered them, but it did.
Okay. I don't know why you do this all the time. We're talking in circles. We're talking past each other. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Canada has not agreed to the tariffs.
Right.
Okay, lowering tariffs. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they're still up there.
Yeah.
The other countries have.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm saying they're irrational.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
And the reason they're irrational is they're hung up on some insecurities they have that got triggered by Trump.
Right. But I don't need to go all the way there, because I'm just right now talking about the situation with the tariffs and the Fed and so on.
No, we agree. I'm just telling you where I think it came from.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we can figure that out.
Yeah.
So anyway, now the good news that, and basically Trump has appointed two members to the Fed board, and they wanted to lower the tariffs, but Powell and the remaining three, I think, wanted to go the other way. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now one of the old guard has resigned. So now this might be good news because Trump can replace them.
How many governors are there on the Fed?
I think there are 5.
5, okay. And what I heard was in yesterday's announcements, there were 2 dissenters that did want to lower it.
Right. I think Michelle Bachmann is one of them.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So, and, at this point, you just have to say, is there just... The Fed has, I think, been consumed with groupthink, that they don't want to refute each other. You see it in academia all the time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
People are afraid to show individualism because they might get shunned by the group.
Well, two of them showed it this time.
Yeah, but I've seen this for the last 10, 15 years in the Fed, is nobody wants to refute anything the Fed
I just told you 2 of them just did.
Yeah.
So why are we talking about this anymore?
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that I'm trying to.
What are you letting me know? I'm to agree with Trump.
I'm emphasizing that it's been so bad, the groupthink mentality that's taken over it, that it becomes noteworthy when we see dissent.
Right, but the only real, well, I wouldn't even talk about groupthink, but it's the stupid think is the chairman at the head of it all, who is trying to put this in because he doesn't like Trump. Yeah. And so, but see, I don't know if it's totally groupthink. I think what it is, you've got Democrats or progressives on the board as well as you have conservatives. Okay. And so they probably agree with Chairman Powell, and they're trying to basically hurt Trump and hurt his administration, his term in office, whatever you want to. And you have 2 other ones now that are in there that don't want to do that. And so now you have this going, and he gets a new one. And so we can turn it around.
Okay. So what happens here? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look at possible motivations. Clearly there's some anti-Trump bias. Yeah. There's some people, but with the rates higher, all the banks that borrow money from the Fed, I don't know, is the Fed just making money? Are they extorting? Because they clearly have monopoly.
Yeah, I do. That's an interesting, I don't know if you know or not, but Trump is really wanting to create another Fed, an independent organization, because he thinks the Fed is outdated. And personally, I guess I don't have enough of an economic understanding on why we need a Fed.
Well, go back 100, 150 years. Every bank could mint their own currency. And sometimes, like the Confederate currency, of course, they were a separate nation, became worthless, that money. And the concern is something, a vehicle, a dollar, a coin, a currency that we're not questioning its worth. Because, right now, somebody hands you a Canadian dollar. Well, that thing's been fluctuating like crazy.
Right.
And
but the question is why? Because the Fed is essentially a private organization. It's not a governmental organization.
Thank you for saying that. That's important.
Because it used to be all the way back to the French? What the French and British War? When what do they call that?
War of 1812.
No, when France and England were fighting each other.
Oh, yeah. Well, the French and Indian Wars were going on.
Yeah, that was here.
Because the French were actually using the Indians as a surrogate.
Right, but I'm talking about when they were fighting each other in Europe.
It was always going on.
Right. So what happened, the Rothschilds were the ones, a family, if you can believe it, a family was essentially funding the war.
Bankrolling, yeah.
Right. And he decided to go with England, Rothschild did, the dad, and he just gambled on England winning, and fortunately they did win. So it was, they were counting on private money backing the war effort. Mm-hmm. And then, as I understand, the Fed was started by the Rothschilds in the Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan, the original J.P. Morgan.
Yeah.
He was one of the ones. In fact, he became the U.S. head of the Rothschild enterprise in America. They expanded over here. So anyway, but my question still is, why do we rely on that versus a federal agency to tell us how much money is worth and, how much debt we can have and this and that?
I think in our Constitution, we have some pretty strong language banning a central bank. So we created one in the private sector in 1913. It was the Federal Reserve Act. Before that, anybody could create their own bank tender, and much like a check is, right? When you write a check to somebody, but people bounce checks.
I wonder, yeah, or no, but I think just if you really look at capitalism and markets, I think it would have all balanced itself out.
Yeah.
Personally, in other words, for example, if you're writing bad checks, I'm not going to do business with you.
Right.
And the ones who are writing good checks and standing behind it, they're the ones who are everyone's going to gravitate there.
There's always going to be bad debts, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the credit card company, it's high interest rate because they know a certain portion.
So, okay. So, but that's what the Fed deals with anyway now.
Yeah. And here's the other thing with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Our government, it's actually a government-owned insurance agency, is bailing out the Fed.
Yeah.
So, in some sense, you say, well, why not just take it over?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, the government, if you're going to determine what the dollar's worth and what you're doing with it, then we can see more clearly, too, what a particular administration is doing.
And you notice,
with our money.
You notice all these things happened in the same few years when Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson. There's very much a globalist move because they started the federal income tax. Until then, the states had to pay a portion of the federal government budget, and your state is who taxed you. And then you had the direct election of U.S. senators to where the state government itself couldn't recall their senator and fire them. So then, states lost so much power in that. And then you had this Federal Reserve. I think there's a commonality. There was
federal.
It was.
That's the commonality.
Yes, and they weakened the states in so many ways. So it's just interesting that all these things happened, but then the people revolted because there was in 1920 there's this massive wave of conservatism, and all through the 20s, very conservative. I think.
But the 20s were roaring.
They were roaring, yes.
I didn't realize.
Unlimited government, Harding and Coolidge.
And what's interesting is they talk about 1929 was in the market crash and everything. But really, the worst of it happened, I think, in 36, between 32 and 36, is when it really got bad. And, so we always hear about 29 and the big crash, stock market crash, but it lasted all the way into the war. And Roosevelt didn't really. War actually saved Roosevelt instead of Roosevelt saving the country.
Yep.
So there's a lot of misconceptions out there that people have that the economic policy that led to the crash in 29 would have probably been reversed sooner had the government not stepped in and tried to do it by themselves. Yeah,
and it was, Roosevelt doing a lot of things where he'd say, pay me now and I'll pay you back later. Whether it was Social Security, which Roosevelt put in place, and all of a sudden your paycheck got smaller under promise that whenever you get old, it'll be there. And then as the war came in, then it was not only, income tax rate got as high as 90% during the war. Mm-hmm. They literally were trying to suppress the economy through the tax code. And on top of all the taxes you paid, then they were selling war bonds. If you got any money left over, we'll take that too. On the promise that you'll get paid back later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was Roosevelt he wasn't that he saved us. He got us to save ourselves.
Yeah.
Despite his stuff. So, anyway. All right.
Moving on. Did you hear Biden? Two things. The Democrats are in shambles right now.
Yes.
They're really in a mess.
Yeah.
And an example, sadly, the NBA, now not the National Basketball Association, is the National Bar Association.
Oh, gosh.
Now, there's the ABA.
Yes.
That's the one that everybody really knows. And that's the American Bar Association. The NBA is the National Bar Association, which is black lawyers.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. They've got to have their own association. Now they got an association of all black lawyers.
I'm actually glad there's competing bars.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I would like for there to maybe be a national and a Republican or a United Bar Association, but national, like the national, it's not, if there's the word national in front of it, chances are it's all black.
Like the National Baptist.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the Black Baptist.
That's the Black Baptist.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so you have this NBA, this National Baptist Association, which is Association of Black Lawyers. They invited Joe.
You just said Baptist again. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bar.
Yeah. National Bar. Okay. They invited Joe Biden to come and be a speaker. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what does Joe do? He gets up and he slurs his way through it. And
yeah, I'm watching him.
It was, and what's crazy afterwards, I don't know, you heard like, and so, the first part of it, the first thing is that they announced Joe coming and you hear this pretty pathetic clapping. And he said, come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it. The guy's trying to rev up the group. And then Joe doesn't show up.
That was his Jeb Bush moment. Please clap.
Yeah. And they, but Joe didn't even come out. So the guy goes back, they go back behind the curtain and the guy's looking like this. Finally, somebody said, Mr. President, come on, get out here, get out here. So he's just continues to embarrass himself and the party. And he's trying to get help. And it's sad to me that so many Black Americans, ones in certain leadership positions, are so bent on pushing people and issues they know are not good for this country.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at him. Pathetic. It's like his head is in some foggy cloud. The expression on his face.
Yeah.
I see video of him even just 15 years ago. He was sharp. He was engaged. He was witty.
He was crooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, he was dangerous then. He's not dangerous.
No. That's the good news about him.
But the reason, and this is a little off a side journey on that, why I'm glad there's more than one bar, it really goes to a state issue. Because in the state of Oklahoma, we've given a monopoly over access to our courts to a private organization called the Oklahoma Bar. And they can kick out anybody they want. And you and I know people that they've kicked out. And I think Oklahoma would do well. I wish I would brought it up when Eccles was here, is to allow the recognition of alternative bar associations so that if you have a fight with the Oklahoma Bar, at least there's some other agency that can give you credentials. I think it's almost unconstitutional in giving a private organization monopoly over access to our courts.
Exactly. No, I agree. I'm totally with you there. Just like the Fed.
Yeah.
To give somebody anytime you give anyone a monopoly to run a nationwide anything that affects everyone, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, in this case, bar association's real teeth is at state court level. Unless you're getting access to the federal courts, and I don't know how the federal courts recognize the National Bar Association.
I don't either.
If they treat them the same as the ABA, I would hope they would.
Yeah, but the ABA, it's a mess. I mean, they're not good. Right?
And because you and I have largely said this about education, if the public school system had to compete for our kids, they'd probably do a better job.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah. So anyway, Kamala Harris, we've heard this week, is dropped out. She's not going to run for governor of California.
And the Democrats say,
and she's written a book. Mm-hmm. What is it, 131 days? Something, and that was the 131 days that she actually ran for president, which is weird because she never got a single vote because they basically just anointed her.
Primary.
No primary, right? There was no primary, so no voting to elect her to that position. And then she still screwed that up.
Yeah.
But it's the Democrat Party is really in a mess. They are trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
And more people. I'll tell you somebody that's really, I'm still not sure what to make of it, but Julian Epstein. Remember Julian Epstein?
Yeah,
he worked with Hillary Clinton.
Yes. Okay.
He was in her administration. He used to be on Fox News and they're all the time.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Epstein now is just become a regular on Newsmax.
Okay.
And he's slamming the Democrats.
Yeah.
For, a multitude of things. One thing is for the California governor's race, where he just can't stand the California governor. And so many of the things but it's just really interesting seeing Julian Epstein because he actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Now he's got a brother. And his brother was the Treasury, or what do you call him? He was secretary of something, but he dealt with finances with the, I guess it started with Obama and then with Biden. And he's rabidly Democrat.
Okay.
And it's so funny to see too. They're both Jewish. It's a Jewish family, but to see Julian moving towards the right more and more. I mean, you could almost call him conservative. And then you've got his brother. I cannot remember his name right now. But anyway, but Julian is really coming out against what the Democrat Party is doing. And I don't get it either. But I think they're between a rock and a hard place because on one hand, you've got your old school liberal progressives, and on the other hand, you got your new school of rabidly, almost anti-American progressives. And your Antifas, you've got BLM, you've got all these things that are working against our nation. And so that's why they're losing a lot of people. They're losing a lot of, I think you're going to see more defections coming up.
I think so too. You look at, what's his name? The morning breakfast club guy, something the God.
Oh yeah. I can't. I know who you're talking about. Anyway, black guy.
Yeah, he's just bashing them. I'm even seeing on MSNBC the guy they do all their polling breakdown. He's saying, the numbers for Democrats have never been this low. And flat out, they are now declaring the Democrat Party is leaderless.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
And the other thing, think of this. Okay, you're trying to reach the youth and get them energized. And you got what? Pelosi, you got Schumer, you got all of these old people that are sitting up there. It's one of the best things the GOP did is essentially relegate Mitch McConnell to the doghouse. I mean, he's still there, but you don't ever see him anymore. You don't hear anything from. No one gives him any credit.
Well,
whereas Schumer and Pelosi are still just flapping.
Well, if they cannot enunciate a defense of what we stand for, then we're in trouble. And I have to say this. I was invited to a luncheon. This is back probably 6 years ago. And it was Freedom Works. Happened to be in town. They wanted to meet with several of us. And they're saying, okay, we've got a Senate race, U.S. Senate race. What does it look like? And right away, a mutual friend of ours was just really quick. Oh, yeah, Inhofe's up for another term. And I said, I'm very concerned about that. I said, he's not all there. He's really slowed down. And I said, at his age, we could end up with a dead candidate a month before the election. And we be in a place where we cannot replace him on the ballot. And boy, I was roundly criticized by a lot of people. They said, how dare you say that? And you know what? Inhofe, I saw him, at the county convention, sharp mind, sharp body, but it wasn't, a year afterwards, he threw in the towel. He says, I'm resigning. My wife is not doing well, and I need to give her my time.
I think the thing that started it all in everybody's mind to doing it was when he landed at some obscure airport. Remember, he got lost
in Grove.
Was it Grove?
By Monkey Island. Yeah. And it was closed. He almost hit a guy working on repairing it. And he didn't face any scrutiny from the FAA over it. A lot of people think, that was a scandal. And my biggest thing with him, in fact, Gettner Drummond and I were talking about it because there was an audit of the Tar Creek EPA cleanup. It was one of the worst, most toxic places. And sure enough, Gary Jones reached out to me. He says, look, I did an audit. And Scott Pruitt put a seal on that audit that it can't go public and it shouldn't be sealed. He decided nobody should be indicted further, and he sealed it. And then Mike Hunter took over when, Pruitt went to the EPA. Well, guess what? The only people who could have blown the whistle on that was the EPA. So Inhofe had Pruitt go from Attorney General's office, where he blocked it, to being the one in the EPA who could decide whether or not to come after us for corruption. And, Gary Jones talked to me privately. He said, there are things in there and they need to come out. And sure enough, finally, Gary Jones got sued. And he said, thank you. And Mike Hunter did, because Hunter took over. So then Hunter waited till 7 years after, in other words, when the statute of limitations ran out on prosecution, and then the next day he did it. And what happened there? Pruitt and Hunter, who had the ability to indict or not indict, they don't have exclusive authority to. The people of the state can circulate a petition to call for a grand jury. And he denied us that, both of them, Pruitt and then, Hunter. And I talked to Gettner Drummond when he first ran against Hunter. And he said to me, he says, Dave, he says, this wasn't protecting Pruitt. This was protecting Inhofe's friends. Because what happened there was a heavy equipment company who's bidding on a contract to bulldoze a couple of city blocks that were toxic, right? Got disqualified, and they gave what should have been about $100,000 contract to a carpet cleaning company in Grove for $1.something million. The carpet cleaning company didn't even own a bulldozer or a dump truck. That's the kind of corruption that got covered up here. And according to Gettner Drummond, it was Inhofe's friends.
Did it ever get cleaned up?
Oh, yeah, it got cleaned up at 10 times the price. And you know who paid the bill? The EPA. And that's why putting Scott Pruitt as head of the EPA made that go away. That's the problems we face here. And, the Republican Party has a lot of scandals. And it infuriates me because I remember when the Democrats ran this state, and it's because of their scandals and their corruption that the people finally threw them out. And they could very likely throw the Republicans out. We're facing it right now. I know our friend Ryan Walters in the middle of a scandal.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about that at breakfast with these people I have breakfast with. And there's some different theories, pretty interesting ones on it, but I'm not buying it because I wasn't aware of what all went on. Apparently what it is, there's a TV in Ryan's office, and it's like an L-shaped room, office. Yeah. And where they meet, there's a table over here. And so where these ladies happen to be sitting, they could look into the room where the others couldn't. Yeah, no, this was two ladies on the election board, and they were going into preparing for executive session. Right. So it's just going to be them in the room. Right. And it was what you would call a smart TV. It was a Samsung brand where you can load apps for things like Netflix and Roku on the TV itself. Right. But what was interesting, Fox News was on. Okay. And then all of a sudden, and Ryan's sitting there just preparing stuff. And all of a sudden, these supposed images are now, what they're coming up with or thinking, this has been postulated by people. And they're going back and looking into it, what was on Fox. And apparently when that happened, Fox was doing a kind of a testimony, or what would you call it? Just a little, because it happened the day that Hulk Hogan died, apparently, or the day after. And so they had a video running about Hulk Hogan and his life. And there was a picture of Hulk with they had these women, and they were scantily clad. They weren't naked. They just happened to be very scantily. Yeah, this is the scandal that Gawker got sued over. Hulk Hogan won a major lawsuit because they had exposed what was supposedly some salacious incident involving Hulk. So apparently when the one woman saw this on the TV, and then she told the other one, oh, look at what's going on there. And that the women were not really naked, but from the distance they were and what they were wearing, they might have appeared naked. And so that's the new theory of what happened. That there were no real nude pictures or. Yeah, but see, that would have been national scandal. What would have been national scandal? I mean, I guess no. It was just Fox News was on TV. Okay, if that's what it was, then it's just these two women. Exactly. Thought they saw something they didn't see. Right, and you got two women that basically were put in by the governor. Okay, then you can prove that real easily, because I think in Trey Savage, journalist, connection of mine. He would know the exact time, because I guess he was there. Yeah, and they're looking at that. That's what they are doing that. Right. And and Fox News could easily say, here's the raw tape of our broadcast for that half hour. Right. And all the other networks, they all do it. I mean, Rush Limbaugh ran recordings every day of all the cable networks. Right. Just for his own show prep. So yeah, that could be easy. And I don't know. I doubt it's that, because I think that would have been, this has been almost 2 weeks now. And it has. And, but see, nobody is really, the people who really know or in the know. And see, Ryan, through his protest, why would you, I mean, if it's there, to me, the way he went through the whole deal, it was like he didn't know what was going on. He watches Fox News in the morning, and then he comes and starts this meeting. Well, why would he leave I mean, why would that even be on his TV? You know what I mean? And he walks out and up pops this thing of these two nude women or something, supposedly naked women. Yeah. And then it goes right into, and apparently he looked at it, and I guess by the time he saw it, it was gone. So he didn't think there was anything big thing of it until it became a scandal and he's got to defend it and all of this. Well, so, I mean, I'm just saying this is a new theory of what actually happened. Mm-hmm. You know, and so somebody can, apparently I didn't realize this. There is some department in the Capitol, an office or a department where they screen everything that goes on, phone calls and all communication, all televised thing, everything. They would know what happened, when it happened, and so forth. And so apparently they're going to look at them and have them one way or another prove what's going on.
This phone call that came through a few minutes ago, you heard my phone buzz, and that was Chance Tinker, who was our guest here a few weeks ago. Chance is very anti-Ryan Walters. And he talks to me in fact, recently, this has been the big topic. He's talked to the OMES, which Office of Management and Enterprise Services, that is big in running things at the Capitol. Yes, there's a Wi-Fi. And he said, look, they would have a record of every stream that came in through that Wi-Fi, unless somebody's using their mobile phone as a hotspot. That would be the way around it. But he says everything has what's called a MAC address. Every device that's a smart device to have it. Samsung TVs clearly have what's called casting capabilities, where you can cast an image from your laptop, from your tablet, from your mobile phone. He's under the belief that this was probably something that got cast to that TV from another device, is something as simple as a web tab that got shut off immediately. And, he's going to assume the worst from Ryan Walters. Fact is, Ryan Walters had him investigated while he lived out in California. The OSBI contacted him over what they thought was a threat of harm to Ryan Walters. And, so anyway, and I talked to Chance. I think it's time to cool it. He said, so Chance went a little too far. But anyway, Chance is really staying on this story, and he's been letting me know every day. I agree with Chance that Ryan probably didn't do himself any favors. Non-denial denials, lack of a clear, say, here's what happened. Here's what I did that day. There's also what they call lying when they say, he says, I've complied fully with investigators, and Sheriff Johnson of the County Sheriff's Department, who's heading this up, so we've hardly started it. And I told Chance that's easily explainable, because they did come in, they did inspect the devices and everything. And I think something to the dialogue of, okay, that's all we have for you for today. And Ryan made me think, okay, I've done everything they've asked.
Yeah, I mean, if they inspected, why can't they just say, we found this on his, because where did it come from?
Right.
That's the thing. Until you can tell me that it came from his laptop. We checked his laptop. Oh, there's the video. Or there's this to this. But we don't have that.
Yeah. But here's another thing ties in. That TV was in one of his staffer's office, who since then has left. And she actually had subscription services such as Apple TV. And with that, she, from any of her devices, could cast and could do things and call up things just using her phone. Now, she's not there, but she becomes a person of interest because of that.
If someone, she gave her code and
Ryan should have reset the TV. Mm-hmm. He didn't, and a lot of us wouldn't do that.
Right. But bottom line is, it's like, by any means necessary, we're at the point where the other side is by any means necessary wanting to replace him. Yeah. They want him out of there.
There's fatigue set in now.
Yeah.
Even people who like Ryan like the things he's done.
Well, see, and that's what upsets me. It's same as the people who jumped ship on Trump the last time in his first term. Same people, you got the same thing locally. It's supposed conservatives are just weak-livered, backstabbing people, okay? And now the Democrats may not be any better, but the Democrats at least keep it within and work towards the ultimate goal of fundamentally changing America, as Barack Obama would say. And so that's what now, as I mentioned to the people this morning, you may not remember, but I will remind you that I actually supported Ryan's opponent.
In the primary. In the primary, John Cox. But you also had great things to say about Ryan too.
Right. But what I'm saying is, again, I voted for John Cox. We for several weeks, you were a Ryan guy, I was a Cox guy.
I think we both had good things to say about both of them.
Right. But so, I could easily, I told you so, or whatever. But knowing how corrupt, to me, the Democrat Party is, the other side, and how weak Republicans are, and the fact that, as I don't know if we discussed it on air last week or we just discussed it among ourselves, how many of our Republican office holders were just Democrats a few years ago.
Yeah.
And decided to change party because they know they can get elected as a Republican.
Sure.
So to me, the state of the state in Oklahoma is questionable, and the way they're doing things makes it even more questionable.
Yeah.
So that's why I am ready to defend Ryan's right to defend himself. I am not going to convict him by what the mealy-mouthed media and two women that say they think they saw something saw.
Yeah.
But sadly, too many of our Republican colleagues in the state are suffering from what you just talked about.
Fatigue.
Ryan Walters fatigue. And you can't do that. If you are willing to give up, to me, that easily, then I don't have any respect for you. I don't have any respect for you.
I'm going to use an illustration, make my point from something Rush Limbaugh said about Sarah Palin. Shortly after McCain announced his running mate, Rush finally gave in. A couple of businessmen wanted to play golf with him. And like, okay. So about the second or third fairway, our tee off, they said, we have got to find a way to get rid of Sarah Palin. And he's like, why? And right away it was, well, look at the media's doing to her. Look at the way they're lambasting her and everything. And Rush said it so succinctly. He stopped and he looked at him and he said, so what you're telling me is we need to let the media pick his running mate. Oh, no. He said, no, that's exactly what you're saying, because the criteria that's necessary is that the media like her. And this is what's going on. I mean, the media has been horrible. And I'm saying every TV station in the state, just about every newspaper in the state, and radio largely, they've all been this way. Oh, yeah. And they're looking for scandal. You've got me muted, or you were muted. There we go. So anyway, this is the problem. And we cannot reward the other side for doing the same. It'd be just like saying I'm sick of Trump because of all the
what MSNBC says about it,
or what's his name, Jim Acosta, because you can't get along with Jim Acosta.
Right.
Like it's Trump's fault for Jim Acosta. Like Trump's the one that triggered him. Jim's a nice guy. He wouldn't do this. No. They are corrupt.
Or Scott Pelley.
Yeah, they have an agenda, and you cannot reward their hissy fits.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Now, if Ryan is guilty, if they find out that he did have some, scant, or what do you call it? Some salacious material on a computer or something, his phone or something, fine. But again, it's so weird. Bill Clinton can have sex with that woman in the White House. It's sexual relations, as they say.
It's just sex, remember?
Yeah.
That was
well, and no, but and it came out, first he would lie about it, then he found out it was true, all that stuff, the dress, the blue dress, and this and this and this. If Hillary can do the things she's done, and we hear, oh, nothing to see here.
Right.
But all of a sudden, you got two women that happen to think they saw something on TV, and, oh, he's got to go. It's just too convenient. It just bothers me. And what really bothers me is how easily Republicans are ready to throw people overboard.
Right.
At the, what is in the Old Testament, you've got to have 2 or 3 witnesses to support any charge that's made. We got 2 women and the one guy who said, well, I looked up, I didn't see anything, but
he didn't. I think there was one male member that concurred with the 2 women's report of how events transpired, but he won't be able to say what he saw.
Exactly.
He couldn't from where he was
saying. Right. He concurred that they brought it up during the meeting or whatever. But so, I just hate that. I hate that everyone is the people who should be the most ready to say, wait, and let's really investigate this, are so quick to jump on Ryan. And also, and it's not, here's the deal. It's not about what it's about. Okay. Yeah. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
What it really is, the education establishment hates Ryan Walters with more passion than the rest of the country that hates Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
Not only that, a lot of our other Republican leaders hate him. Governor Stitt, for one.
Well, yeah, they're at odds with each other.
We've got, our biggest problem is lack of unity in the Republican Party. So, it's a sad thing. Now, having said this, last May, I did happen to run into John Cox at the state Republican convention. He said that, You
mean this May?
Yeah, this last May. And that, he's running. In fact, didn't he come on in here later that month?
Yeah.
And he told us he's running. He said, the first person I called was Ryan Walters, because those 2 men ran an honorable yet competitive campaign. Right. They treated each other with great respect, and I was incredibly proud that these 2 men were of such high honor and regard towards each other. But John's going to give the voters an opportunity, and I don't diss him for that.
No,
he's
no. I'm, as I said, and those that have followed our program know that John Cox was the guy I initially supported, and I still do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I hate what I see going on, because to me, this is really ultimately not about Ryan Walters. It's really about the state of the Republican Party in Oklahoma. And are they going to stick together, support one another, or not? And when so many of our Republican members of the state legislature were Democrats as much as months before they started running, and we've now got these so-called Republicans in our state house, they're not really Republicans at heart. And that is something that really, really bothers me.
Yeah, and this is funny because you can't just assume because they recently switched that there might be subversive. Let's take Bobby Kennedy, for instance. I think he's done a marvelous job. Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Right. Well, I'm talking state house right now.
Right, but I'm giving an example of just because somebody recently switched in that isn't necessarily bad, There are good examples where they saw the light or the Democrats left.
There's a difference.
Okay.
We were able to vet Bobby by the things he said and the things he did and the things he's been standing for.
You're right.
For years. He's not a different guy. He just realized, like, I don't know, who is it said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. They left me.
Yeah.
The party left me.
Well, there are things Trump did have to confront with him. He says on certain environmental issues having to do with fossil fuels and that, he said, Bobby, you stay out of that. I'm handling that.
Right. And Bobby was honest about the things that he and Donald disagreed in.
Yeah.
What I don't like is a lot of these people haven't been vetted. You know, let's take it to the city council. You have a city councilor
in Tulsa,
Anthony Archie.
Yeah.
I'll name the name.
Yeah.
Who was a Democrat until weeks before he declared for a position on the city council here that he was going to start running. Yeah. And then he ran for a year as a Republican. Yeah. And he had been a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat up until a number of weeks before he did that. And so there was really no vetting that went on. And then we saw certain video clips of him.
Yeah, stoking racial animosities.
Right. And so, you know, these are the type of things, that's just a local issue, but then you take it statewide and how many other, what we would call rhinos are now in our state legislature. And maybe that's why we can't get anything, any of the big projects like Mike Mazzei's wanting to financially reform the state, and the governor, give it to the governor who Mike Mazzei worked for, have tried to implement. You know, I will give the governor credit for a lot of things he has done. He's done some good things and he's had some good advisors, but there is corruption and there's rot at the State House, I believe. And so, like I said, I just want to let this stuff be thoroughly investigated and however it comes out. But it just saddens me that so many Republicans have jumped ship on Ryan Walters' case. And I think it's going to hurt. It will hurt down the line because you won't be able to trust anything anymore. Yeah. That's the thing about it.
And I think, you know, you brought out the point about Bill Clinton. And, you know, this is nothing compared to Bill Clinton, what he lied through his teeth about and tried to destroy so many other people about. And if this had been a legislative assistant playing something on her office computer there, and that, would we have fired her? I don't think so.
No.
You know, would any other state,
especially if it's a female? Now, if it's a male, they might have fired him. And
that is an indictment against the sexist society we live in.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, to me, it's like, yeah, they are straining at gnats, you know, and you're right. This is all subjective.
And we're so easily swayed. We're so easily swayed.
Well, look at what kind of media. I mean, you and I do this, you know, volunteer weekly show, but we're up against daily bombardment from, you know, very highly funded
mainstream media,
groups.
as they say.
Yeah. And there's so much corruption. You remember back during COVID, you and I were covering where there was some story that Channel 4 over in Oklahoma City did about the overdoses of ivermectin, and gunshot victims can't even get in the emergency room. The ambulances are turned into triage centers, you know, and it was such a lie.
Yeah,
it went national. Did you ever get anything out of them? There's no apology.
No,
you know why? There's such a thing called paid journalism, where somebody offers you enough money, you'll run a story with the narrative they ask for.
Oh, yeah. What's that girl's name at CNN? Caitlin something? The one who's always arguing with Trump.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I mean, it's unbelievable. She is just, to me, an unattractive person. Not unattractive necessarily by her physical features, okay? but unattractive by the way she carries herself.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
She'll probably die an old maid, unless she has a girlfriend or something,
There you go.
That might work. But it really, she's an offensive person.
Mm-hmm.
And yet she's being paid, she's being hyped up. She thinks in her mind, oh, people love me.
Yeah.
No, they don't. The people who understand do not like you, and the ones who are pumping you up are using you. I mean, that's basically the bottom line.
I mean, this is a globalist cabal that has organized largely across the media boards. Remember what an earthquake it was when Elon Musk was putting together a group to buy Twitter, and that they all knew they were losing a key component of this barrage was coming from this groupthink media with one narrative. We're seeing it with CBS bailing on their
60 Minutes.
On their late night guy, Colbert.
Oh, Colbert. Yeah, that's so crazy.
Now, here's the thing. What they announced was we're ending the show. They didn't fire him and are looking for replacement.
Right.
And who's upset about this is David Letterman, because CBS wasn't doing late night. They didn't have something to compete against Johnny Carson. Well, when Carson's replacement was announced and it wasn't him, he thought he was going to be the next Carson.
Right.
They picked Leno. And he was so mad because he had the show that came on after Carson. NBC was doing late night so well,
right.
Nobody could compete with them. I think ABC did Nightline, a late night national news thing. And that largely competed with cable news, right? So what I'm getting at here is they would rather kill that than correct it. Because clearly there's a market niche for late night comedy.
Right.
And it just costs them so much money.
Right. But their late night comedy quit being comedic.
It was costing them, I think, like $40 million a year.
Oh, yeah, sure. Who's watching this?
And this, you have to wonder, where are the stockholders in all this? And
that's probably one of the reasons that they did it, because their stockholders were starting to say, because Colbert, there's nothing funny. It's like, in fact, the only thing that is making him popular, and that's why he's doing it, I believe, the only thing that was making him popular was he was getting that MSNBC audience for that couple of hours that he was on. The people who rabidly hate Trump wanted him to be on there attacking Trump every night for half the night. And so, and he quit doing comedy for everyone. It's like, what's the little black comedian? He's in all the movies. I can't think of his name right now. He's very popular right now.
Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Like Kevin Hart said, they did not want him to appear in anything with Donald Trump, and they wanted him to start knocking Donald Trump. And he said, I'm not going to do it, or attack Republicans. He said, I'm not going to do it because Republicans buy my tickets too.
Yeah.
So he's smart. He's saying, wait a minute, that's not that's not what I do. I do comedy. I don't choose this group or this group because that's the fastest way to not be popular anymore.
Yeah. When you insult half your crowd,
right,
it ain't going to work. Now, if you live in Southern California or you live on the Upper East Side, you get this mistaken notion that everybody believes your same left-wing politics. And, it reminds me of what Glenn Campbell said when he was looking for career advice after filling in for the Beach Boys here in Tulsa when I think it was Brian Wilson was sick, or one of them. And he went to golf with Lawrence Welk, and Lawrence said, go into country music. And I have this opportunity to break into rock. And he says, there's more of us than there are of them. Because that niche that, was our generation that loved rock and roll, we were still a minority. Largely country music back then had a bigger draw.
Right.
And Lawrence, he was a polka guy, right? He was, old-fashioned ballroom dancing, but he was reaching a niche and it worked for him.
Right.
Lawrence Welk was a good businessman. Now, he wouldn't survive today.
Making it a funky now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Bobby and Cindy. Yes. It just, it's a matter of the dollars and cents. And this defies it. When you see them destroying corporations, then the people are in charge of it. It's like, it's acceptable losses. I would not buy Comcast stock.
No.
Because the people that run it do not have your dollars in mind, your investment.
Right. And also, and they had just paid Trump on a lawsuit, and Colbert is just going to get him sued again.
Yeah.
And these people, I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that, I think they have been sued once by someone, and that's the View gals.
Okay.
And I think there's going to be some more coming down the line. I think that show is on fumes.
Yeah. Now, I predicted this about 20 years ago when the McCain-Feingold election reforms took place. It put a carve-out in for media, established media. You and I could not publish, print, distribute anything within a certain amount of time. Now, it's been thrown out by the Supreme Court. What's the Citizens United case? But you and I were banned from speaking out, yet journalists were exempt. If it was a, quote, recognized journalist.
Right.
Well, the First Amendment says we are all journalists.
Right.
We all have freedom of press. So, but I predicted when it was first signed, and sure enough, George Bush signed it into law. And I said, you watch, political operatives are going to take over media outlets. That was 20 years ago. And that's exactly what happened. By 2008, when McCain was running for president, they had already moved that way.
Yeah. And they started that, remember that story that really hurt McCain about some affair with a woman who started a scandal. And we found out it was a total lie, fabricated, that it wasn't true.
Here's the interesting thing. When you get a rhino Republican to sign on to things like this, and they use the narrative of the extreme right, you'll protect you from them. We saw it here locally. Remember when Dewey Bartlett said, oh, yeah, let's get rid of partisan city elections. And then when it came back to hurt him, we had him speaking at the Republican Assembly, and Chris Medlock, who'd kind of been a nemesis in city council, says, how did we get that anyway? And Dewey like, yeah, I don't know. Well, guess, what's her name?
Kathy Taylor.
No, Bell.
Sally Bell.
Sally Bell was sitting in the back of the room and says, oh, I know how it happened. She says, you supported it and brought it to vote of people. And Dewey sat up there like, well, I guess,
Yeah, he signed his own death warrant.
But you know what I said? I was really quick. I was sitting right there in the front. I said, Dewey, if we're able to get a campaign going to change that, will you serve in leadership of that campaign? He said, yes. And I kept reminding the Republicans, Dewey gave his word. Let's hold him to it.
That is one of the, I would say is on the top of the list of the Tulsa County GOP.
Yes, it is.
To get that done.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah. In fact, you and I were at the meeting and helped devise, the language calling for a charter change. And so, yeah, I hope it happens.
Yeah. Hey, an interesting thing. There were these hikers that were killed over near Springdale, Arkansas, which is too far from us.
But that's argument. An Oklahoman wouldn't do that, would they?
Well, it turns out that the perpetrator who killed the hikers was from Tulsa. He
just last spring, right?
Yeah, he actually was a teacher in Sand Springs.
No, a public school teacher wouldn't do that.
Get the OEA on the phone. Yeah, they'll be sure to come up and figure out why it couldn't have been.
It's because he was underpaid. That's why.
Well, he had just been hired at Springdale and ended up there and happened to run into these hikers. And apparently they had 2 daughters that they told to run and hide.
So this is a family.
Yeah.
A mom, dad, and 2 girls in the Springdale area, which is just across the border.
Right. Yeah. And anyway, he, stabbed him to death. Apparently, allegedly stabbed him to death. By the reports, we're not sure, but it's kind of but it's the weirdest thing. We don't know why. They don't know why he did it.
Do you know his age?
No, but from the photo, he looks like he's probably in his late 30s, mid to late 30s. So, I don't know. Here, I'll let you look at the photo.
Man. That doesn't look much past 30.
Yeah. But so, but anyway, it's a sad thing. And, but yeah, you have to wonder. Sometimes it seems like the whole country is going nuts. And it's like, they're being triggered by things, and whether it's, sometimes, science fiction would make you, it talks about people that are programmed, or there's a chip put into them, and somebody flicks a switch, and then they all of a sudden just go and become nuts.
The whole Jason Bourne type thing too. That's
right. Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But there's too much of that going on.
Well, we had this in New York City, just right there near Grand Central Station. A guy comes in from Nevada, and evidently the narrative, he's disgruntled because of severe brain damage from concussion. Well, he has a history of mental illness.
Are you talking about the guy that went to the NFL?
He was trying to. He got off the wrong floor elevator and killed somebody with Blackstone, I think.
Oh, the security guard?
The security guard, but no, there's one executive got shot and killed.
Okay, yeah.
And then another office worker and a security guard and a second security guard who happened to be an off-duty New York police officer. So, and then he shot and killed himself. But you just got these wacko people that just like they're on a mission.
Well, and here's what's weird to me. Here's another thing that makes me mad. I'm glad you brought that up and we stumbled upon that. They're now, he was trying to, because this message he left about that he had CTE. CTE is a brain disorder that they have tried to blame concussions on, and that the NFL, the players getting the concussions are leading to mental issues. Well, this guy never played in the NFL.
Bingo. Yep.
And at first they were trying to play it up as this big CTE thing and trying to make it, and then all of a sudden somebody came out, well, this guy never actually played in the NFL.
Yes.
And he played at some little D3 college or something. He didn't even play at a Division I college.
Yeah. But, it's, you got to blame somebody.
Yeah.
Some nameless, faceless corporation. It's always, the evil, just like the head of United Healthcare, gets shot and killed in the streets of New York, just a block from Trump Tower there because, they didn't cover my health care and now I can't get it up. That's really what it's about. And all the women that want to, be his wife, even though we already know, he's going to have to get it somewhere else. Yes, he is. As a result of a spinal issue,
Yeah. It's America has gone nuts. You got people that, what it is. Too much time on their hands. It really is. It is. What is it? Idle hands, the devil's workshop.
Well, yeah, but you also have to say it's this entitlement mindset of the world owes you something, or the world.
Right. It's all really, it's related. It's related that, these people are wealthy. You know, Elon Musk has these billions. That's no fair. And look at him. I don't see him working. He's around doing this. Every time I see pictures of him on a yacht, or you see him with these women or this or that.
This book you wrote, you talk a lot about Booker T. Washington. Mm-hmm. Booker T. Washington never would have tolerated that mindset.
No.
Any of his colleges, it's like, if you're going to make something in the world, it's going to be because you work your butt off.
That's right. You got to work. You got to work. And he actually has a book. I have it. It's very expensive now. It's like $100 for this book. It's called The Black Man in Business.
Oh,
yeah.
See, now,
actually, the Negro in Business.
Now, Up From Slavery is his big biography. Right. That's a great one.
Right. But this is one that he did, and he compiled these stories of these Black people who basically went from literally nothing to millionaires.
Yeah.
You know,
but they won't teach that.
They worked like dogs to do it.
At Booker T. Washington High School in North Tulsa, they won't teach you what Booker T. Washington actually became great for.
Right. Yeah. They should rename that school W.B. Du Bois High School.
Yeah. The Du Bois School of It Ain't My Fault. Yeah, it's like it's part of our human nature, and it's not just left-wing politics.
No.
It's just this. It's always, if I fail, it's somebody else's fault.
Well, yeah,
it's never my fault.
It's the thinking that has crept into our nation, and we're still the number one nation in innovation and ingenuity and all of these things, but that's purely because we have so many people. And we do still have poor people that are able to somehow escape and do it. But more and more people are being affected in the wrong way. You have people that are disinfected. These are malinfected people, malaffected people that are mistakenly or affected in the wrong manner. And so it's, and you've got politicians that want to keep them there. That's what it is.
Well, pandering.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie, you're in the insurance business, right? If I don't have homeowners insurance on my house and a tornado comes, I better hope it's a huge F5 and it takes out the entire town. You know why? Because if it just takes out my block, I'm screwed.
Right.
But if it takes out my whole town, government will bail us all out.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of what we've set up.
It's funny you said years ago when I first went into the insurance business, working with farmers, I visited a guy over in Oakhurst.
Oh, yes.
And he wanted me to write his car insurance, little liability policy or whatever. And I said, what about your house? Who's insured? Oh, I don't have any insurance. You don't have any insurance? You should let me write your homeowner's insurance. Oh, no, I don't need that. I said, well, what if a tornado comes? He says, I'll just get the government to pay for it.
Yeah. Folks, for those of you who don't know Tulsa, if you've listened to Rush Limbaugh talk about real Linda, Oakhurst is our real Linda. Yeah.
I always use Jinx. That was always mine. But yeah.
Oh, no.
I don't know that much.
Oakhurst, it is the land of trailer houses and salvage yards.
Well, it used to be. But some people have gone over and purchased a lot of the land.
Yeah. Well, it's conveniently located.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. And so now you have new, bigger houses and people pretty wealthy people move to Oakhurst.
And you know, just a mile north is the big Amazon distribution center.
Oh, really?
Right there. Yeah. If, Town West Shopping Center, which Sapulpa, see, I don't know that there actually is an incorporated town of Oakhurst. Sapulpa came all the way up and took all the way to 61st Street. Actually, further, they took Town West Shopping Center. Used to be you could go there and pay only 4% income sales tax on your groceries there at the discount place. And Tulsa never annexed it. And now they wish they did because Sapulpa came up.
Oh, it's a beautiful area over there.
Yeah.
They've got so much nice land.
And then to the west of there, in fact, I was just there yesterday. A very, very successful husband-wife doctors. They're like very high up. I'm not going to name their names, but they were able to buy gorgeous oak forest and put a several acre. They got their own lake in there and everything. And ends up they built their house out of limestone because they didn't know, but they bought a limestone quarry essentially. And they hired a specialist to come in and said, what do we do? He says, I would have bought this if I'd known there was this good a stone here. And so, I mean, there's, a lot of development happening because you're 10 minutes from downtown Tulsa. Really? I'm sorry. You were talking about Oakhurst and the guy wouldn't get homeowners insurance.
Right. Well, yeah, I didn't want to focus. I just want to use him as an example.
Yeah.
It's people are at the point now, they want to have somebody else, pay for it used to be for their mistakes.
Yeah.
But now it's becoming the things that they're too lazy to do.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to do, if I can save money here, let so-and-so pay for it, because this is what Democrats have promised people. I've said this a long time ago, how the Democrat Party, take notes, get a pen ready, get a recorder ready. This is how the Democrat Party has convinced the Black population to stick with them.
Yeah.
They've said, you've got Republicans over here, they want to hurt you, we want to help you. So what they do is, Dave, listen, we know because of your skin color and that weird colored shirt you got on, Republicans are not going to take care of you.
Yep.
But it's okay. They're not going to let you succeed. Okay. But don't worry about it. You don't have to. I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Because the best way to get a person or a group of people to not compete is to convince them they can't compete.
Right.
So let's take your children. And this is how bad this is, okay? Dave, let's say you're a Black person, okay? Your son will never be able to go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton. They can't do this, and this. But it's okay. They'll never get a good job because the Republicans are going to keep them out of it. These rich Republicans or the rich people in this part of town.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. They don't have to work. We'll take care of them. And so you start believing that you can't compete against this group of people over here. Your kids can't compete. And so you instill that in your kids. But the man over here, these people are helping us. They're going to give us money. They're going to give us food. They're going to give us a place to live, project, welfare, free healthcare, all of this. They're going to give us all of this. So we don't have to compete with those slimy, rich Republicans. But now it's bled over because they ran out of Black people and the Black population started dwindling because of abortion. They're killing all the Black babies. Of course. So now, though, they've gone after a new constituency, the poor white constituency. And it's always funny because I talk about, we have the story about the welfare mom, the welfare this, the welfare that. Okay. Well, there's a white man's welfare. And it's called disability. Disability insurance are people who say they're disabled and can't work. So they get free health care. They get money for food. They get for this. You said insurance. Believe me, it's not insurance. It's government. Well, entitlement. Right. Yeah. Because disability insurance is something a person could. Oh, right. I see what you said. Right. That's true. But it's very expensive. Right. Free healthcare. Right. So I always call disability the white man's welfare because the same white people who say, "Oh, I could never take welfare because that's a N-word thing," But you don't have to. There's no disgrace in taking disability, even though you can work as much as anybody else. And I'm not saying everybody. There are truly people that are disabled and need it. There are truly people that need welfare and so forth. Okay, sure. That's why it was created. But once that happens, you always have another group that wants to take advantage of it. Sure. And it all comes down to the what would you call it? The screening, and making a person truly qualified for this. And that's what's not happening. And it's not happening because you got people that the more people you get to take part in this, the more money I make. Yeah. So it's just the most corrupt cycle that there is of conditioning people to be takers instead of givers.
Yeah, and I've known so many people that I felt like really, truly were disabled and were systematically denied it. And then when Obama became president, bam, they got it. And so I think it is impacted by politics and their grand social schemes to make people dependent on government.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats largely want you dependent on government.
Oh, yeah.
And
they're socialists. They're socialists.
I have a great uncle who was a disability judge, a court for, the IRS had their own, and Social Security Administration. And he was telling me one time during a family reunion, the standard isn't whether they can get a job, it's whether they can keep a job. Because there are people who will have, like somebody on MS, they might go a couple months doing great, but they might be bedridden for 8 months. And so it's a tough deal. The other thing I want to say is it is a dead end, because if you get better, you actually will feel trapped to where you're afraid to let go of that dependable check, right? And you won't do for yourself. Yeah. I've had psychiatrists say, disability can be a trap that you never truly become. Like my dad, when I was a kid, he actually PTSD and, war issues, had a mental breakdown, was in a state mental hospital in Minnesota for a better part of a year. He had nothing. He had to pick himself up, and he had 6 little kids at home, and he had bust his butt to provide for his family. He didn't have that safety net. And by God, he worked his butt off, and he did.
Right.
And I thank God he did, because he taught us, initiative and self-reliance.
Yeah, you at some point you have to have a hardened heart or a tough heart to sometimes risk making a mistake and saying no to a person who needs it in order to keep the thing viable for the people who really need it.
Yeah.
And eliminate the ones who don't. Because it's so sad. It's the sin. It's the sin nature of man that they're always going to want to be greedy, lazy, and whatever they can take advantage. And sometimes it's an acquired skill.
It's an attitude that gets passed down to your kids too.
Right. Yeah. So it's not that we say a certain ethnic group is born lazy or they're lazy. They're gypsies. I guarantee you there's gypsies. In fact, gypsies are some of the most intelligent people that you will ever meet, because they know how to bamboozle the rest of us. They know how to get your money, but
it's initiative.
Right.
They have initiative.
Right. They have initiative. And so, but again, and it's an acquired skill. They learn it. They learn it after generations, because they're taught how to beg and how to pick pockets. They're taught how to do this and this. And sadly, again, in the Black community, the gang thing, you're not born that I'm going to I'm going to be the toughest gangster in the hood here, or I'm going to be this or the biggest dope dealer, or da-da-da. Yeah. It's because they see it with their friends, and the parents don't, in many cases, don't keep an eye out enough for them to make sure to keep them
the breakdown of the family.
Yeah, all of that. And so
it really has to be.
So we're hitting a lot of sociological areas all of a sudden.
So, here's the example. My daughter in church, in her youth group, well, before that, the children's group at her church, and then youth group, there was these 4 girls that were brought over to the church through our kind of bus ministry and outreach from Fairmont Terrace, which is the project, right? And these 4 girls, nasty, mean, picked on my daughter, really tough to deal with. Those 4 girls, I found out later, kind of had a pact. They realized that when they were 16, they could get pregnant, and the government would set them up with their own apartment, and they'd be on their own. And largely, I think all 4 of them got pregnant. 2 of them, within a couple of years, were in prison because one of them, her kid had died, and literally she got pulled over at a traffic stop with a dead baby in the back. And I don't know all the narrative of how the crime ends up. 2 of them were sentenced to prison, and that. But you had children having children, and just unruly. Single parent grew up, and you see this generational thing where you're 16 years old. Hey, I'll just get knocked up, and government will take care of me.
Right.
And I don't have to listen to mama's rules.
And the more you have, the more you get. And what's really sad, you may have, I've seen 3 generations in a household, in the project. So you have a grandmother who had the daughter out of wedlock. The daughter then grew up and had kids out of wedlock, and the granddaughter had babies. So you got 3 generations, and they're all still collecting welfare.
They all hate men.
Well, obviously, except when they give them babies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a tragic thing. Very, very tragic. And so it's going to take a change of a mindset, and it's going to take Republicans or Democrats who are willing to stand up against the ridicule and the attacks. It goes back to the Ryan Walters thing. Yeah. Ryan Walters is saying, it may hurt a little bit to go through this reform of education, but we need to do it. And it's almost like the first thing they want to whine about, well, what about these schools here? How are Jenks, Bixby, Owasso, and Union doing well? Yeah. If it's a problem with the education system, okay? Yeah. And so it tells me that something is wrong with the people who are behind it all. And if they would start being as worried about academics as they are about all the social issues in school, it would be a whole different deal.
Well, yeah. And by the way, when I talk about this generational thing, divorced families, single mothers, and stuff like that, my wife and I came across an audio, part of Laura Schlesinger's show. She wrote a book called The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. And it's kind of woke us up about the lost art of the role a woman needs to play because of her husband to be the best he can be. He has needs emotionally, physically. And
it's one of those meeting your husband at the door in a negligee when he comes home.
She wasn't saying that. It really,
I think she did at one point. That was one of her things that she was.
Yeah. This segment I was listening to, it was just like, he has feelings too. He has down days. And sometimes he needs somebody to listen to him.
Don't tell me that.
But you find out a young man learns how to be a man. A boy learns how to be a man from his father, not his mother.
Right.
A girl learns how to be a woman from his mother.
Or her mother.
I'm sorry. And if she's going to learn what it takes to be a wife in a successful, happy marriage, she's got to see it. A young boy needs to see it to emulate it. And this is the problem we have with that. Somewhat, and look, if you didn't get that kind of environment growing up, there's ways to acquire it. One of it happens to be this book, and we were just hearing an audio portion of it, and like, it's very true, but it's very, very politically incorrect. The feminists hate it.
Was just like Dr. Dobson's early books. One of the greatest books he ever wrote is Tough Love.
Yeah.
That's one that sometimes you have to harden your heart.
Love Must Be Tough is the title.
Right. And it's funny because I had to practice that. I had to kick one of my sons out of the house, his freshman year of college. And he was going to school in town, so he lived at home still. Sure. But I kicked him out. And after 2 weeks, I probably told this story, but anyway, that he called his mom for us to reconsider. And so I said, no, we'll do breakfast and we'll talk about it. And I had to give him the ultimatum: either you can go to this particular college, which is totally away from it, 50 miles from civilization, had about 500 students in it, if that, maybe 300. And, or you can stay where you're staying and start your new life as an independent. He was 18 years old at the time.
So this college, was it a fundamentalist college?
It was a Brethren college.
So it's structured.
In Kansas.
There's going to be structure.
Yeah. But it's funny because when we got there and they showed us his dorm room, I had to turn away so he couldn't see my grimace because I wouldn't have stayed there. But I turned back around.
Kind of looked like juvie, huh?
Wow, it was austere. Let's just put it that way. And it was a Porta. I mean, it's kind of a, Brethren. You know what they're the
Mennonite Brethren.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or Quaker or Mennonite. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Mennonite Brethren. Actually, I know them pretty well.
Right. I didn't realize there's a whole circuit of those schools in Kansas, Missouri,
Tabor's
Oklahoma, and so.
Between my first and second year at Rhema, I went and worked on a wheat harvest in a little town called Corn, Oklahoma. Very much a Mennonite Brethren town. And they had Corn Bible Academy as a Mennonite Brethren school.
Corn, I remember.
And my roommate was a graduate of Corn Bible Academy. He stayed there I call it juvie because it was a boarding school because his parents lived up in Garden City, Kansas. And I knew him really well. And in fact, we went to visit his parents up in Hays, Kansas. They went to a Mennonite Brethren church. Of the Mennonite 7 denominations, the most radically removed is what we call the Amish. Right. They are a segment of the Mennonites.
Right.
Mennonite Brethren is almost Baptist. It is that,
What's the one in Wichita? There's one in... Oh, it's Friends University.
Okay.
You know it?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, Friends is another one.
Yeah. A lot of my roommates, a lot of his classmates went to Tabor up in Kansas, which is another one there. In fact, his brother went to Tabor as well. It just, and it's not like the Amish, but it's kind of pacifist, and stuff. But anyway, yeah. So,
but anyway, I had to harden my heart because, and his mother, to her credit, she just stood back. Mom wasn't bailing him out. And so he did it, and praise God, it turned him around, and he's great now. He's doing great.
They believe in structure.
Yeah.
And they structured his life.
He left after 2 years. Then he ended up at NSU for like a semester and finally realized he didn't want to, college wasn't for him. And he's actually making more money than all the other kids in the families.
Let's mention that because kids are getting ready to go off to another year of school, and that more and more the push now is getting away from the liberal arts the academia, unless you're into one of the sciences.
Right.
Other than that, it seems like a better career path for many people to either go to a trade school to develop a trade or find that kind of structure as an apprentice, whether it's as an electrician or plumbing or something like that.
Trades, right.
Right. Because
there's one other exception to me, and that's agriculture, the ag majors. If I had it all to do over again at Texas Tech, I probably would have joined the ag school. For one reason, they had the prettiest girl.
Those FFA jackets, huh?
Yeah,
they're hot.
No, yeah, but no, seriously though, the science of agriculture, which Booker T. Washington was such a huge, and what's his name? George Washington Carver.
Yeah, the peanut guy.
Right. So, but you're always going to be needed. You're always going to be needed.
Now, this isn't just training to become a family farmer.
No. This is, that could be if you have the smarts and are able to buy a little land and
they're like, for instance, Iowa State, big on agriculture.
Right. That's where George Washington Carver went to school at Iowa State.
Yeah. In fact, it's one of my wife's relatives started the medical school there.
Oh, wow.
Carter was his last name. And, but my niece, she and her husband went there. He went there actually to get a degree in golf course management.
Right.
And then from there, it planned on going to that line.
Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco. Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy. He was an ag major there.
Sure.
And in fact, in his off season, they show him he goes back to, I don't know if it's Missouri, Kansas, or Iowa. But anyway, they show him he's on a tractor doing his agriculture.
But the corporations who now work with Iowa State, I drive by there and I see all these big names in agribusiness, whether it's Monsanto, Cargill, all these guys. And because our government funds so much research in grants to universities that benefit agriculture.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, I have to tell you this. When I was at Tech, my roommate was this all-conference basketball player, and he's in the Hall of Fame there and all. But anyway, and when he was a freshman, they had sugar daddies. These are alumni that went there, and they couldn't give him money, but, they would invite him over for different things or, different, and they were giving them money too. Sliding, secretly. But anyway, so I went to one of these rich sugar daddies in Lubbock, Texas. Okay. And he had the best steak I've ever had in my life. And what it was, he had cut, it was cubed, but it was long cube, a rectangular shape, but they're probably about 6 inches long, but these cubes that he had cut in and cooked. But I couldn't believe this steak. It was just like something I never had. And I was thinking, man, this is so good. Where'd you get? Oh, I got it at the meat lab at Texas Tech. So they grow the animal, the cows, the cattle, and they groom it and they breed them specifically, for this and this. But they nailed how to make a fine heifer.
Oh yeah,
to eat,
Yeah.
But I was just amazed. But I did think about it later, because this is what's so stupid when you're young. Where I was raised, when I got there, the Aggies, which the farmer. In fact, Tech and OSU used to be, they were agricultural school. They were both, I know Tech was the Texas Aggies. We were the Texas Tech Aggies is what they were before they became the Red Raiders. But anyway, but I've learned that, man, back then we were adversaries. All we could think was redneck, honky farmers, or country people, southern plantation owners, So there was this real animosity, but later as I saw what they do and what they produce, and, I was thinking later, man, if I had studied agriculture, because I did take a horticulture class, and I had the top grade in the class. I was just something I loved. I was a natural to it. I could grow anything, anywhere, and then they had us designing. Yeah, we had to design landscapes, backyards or property, and how you do it. And I would have these incredible draftings of these, I'd have tennis courts, swimming pools, basketball court I threw in there, just true to my race, but there was a natural thing to it. And so, if there are any young people out there, the sad thing is that these corporations are taking over so much of the farming in America, and it's hard for an individual to still.
Well, if you didn't grow up in a farm family, it's very unlikely you'd ever go into it.
Yeah, but even those that are growing up are having to sell them, a lot of them, sadly.
But you grew up in Germany, early years, mostly in Germany. The Germans are known for their guilds, and that's very much about family tradition. If you grew up in a watchmaker's family, likely you're going to be a watchmaker. And they had the apprentice system, and it didn't involve tuition.
Right.
You worked, and you learned your craft as you worked.
Yeah, but the downside, what they do, I think we've talked about, they split the kids up after the fourth grade. So they determine in the fourth grade whether you're going to go to university to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. And then in the fifth grade, after the fifth grade, so after the fourth grade, those kids are gone.
I understand that.
And then fifth grade, they're gone.
That's a more recent thing. If you go back a century or more, and you see how these economies and these crafts were done, the Germans really had it more structured than any with their guilds.
Well, but see, you're only seeing a part of it. You're seeing what they did with the lower class people. You're not looking at what they did, how they split off their aristocracy. Right. So they did do they did do the guilds and so forth.
But this was before the days of public schooling. If you learned, it was likely at home, or you had a tutor.
Well, that happened here too. I mean, you think of John Quincy Adams, and all those.
But what I'm saying is the trades were always filled with people coming in.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Now, the downside of it, and I'll take my great grandfather, Hector Van Risseghem. He didn't want to be a butcher, but he grew up in a butcher's family. He was great at it, but he wanted to be a farmer.
Right.
And you had to buck the family, buck everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem was in Belgium, there was no land for sale. Nobody sold land. They hung on to it.
The question I have, how did you spell his name?
Hector, Hector, I believe.
Okay. Now, did a Mexican get into the family some kind of way at some point?
No, it means bully.
Yeah, but Hector is a Hispanic name.
Well,
Hector Ramirez.
Yeah.
Hector Lopez.
It's a popular name amongst Spanish-speaking people today.
Right.
But this is 150 years ago.
Yeah, that's interesting to me that Hector is in Belgium.
No, keep in mind, the Flemish Belgians had a lot of French influence.
Right, so French. Right.
And French is one of the Romantic languages, as is Spanish. So, and I believe the word translated in English means bully. Hector means bull. Yeah, like, to hector somebody?
Like the heckler.
Yeah, it was similar to heckler, but Hector means to bully.
But it's just so funny that, I lived in Holland and went to Belgium, but I've never heard of a Dutch or a Belgian person named Hector.
Yeah.
It's only so I'm wondering if somehow your people didn't migrate.
No, well, not my family. However, two of them had been captured in Napoleon's army and sold as slaves in Spain. And they got 10 years later, they escaped, came back, but their family's gone.
Was one of those related to Hector?
I was told, I actually about 30 years ago talked to a Van Rissegam over there, and we're sharing stories that we'd heard. And he said, yes, I heard the same. They were not Van Rissegams, but they were related to us. And so anyway, but getting back to this, Hector then decided, he and his wife and what kids they had at the time, going to move to America. And this was after the years of the free homestead deal. That was gone. But he had the opportunity, and he came over, worked for Rock Island Railroad in Illinois, and wrote back to his wife, okay, I've got a place for us and everything. Bring the kids and come. And they worked there for a little while, bought a place, bought some land out in Pruchot, South Dakota. Problem was, when you're a Catholic family in South Dakota, there ain't no Catholics for your boys to marry. Fact is, there's no Catholic church to hold mass. So they pulled up stakes and found a Catholic settlement in Onami, Minnesota, Crozier. And that's still our family land there today. So anyway, but this is the thing. He wanted to be a farmer. He became a very good farmer. And he ended up in the potato business and, made his money there. But that was the thing. That was the one downside of the guild system and the family traditions, the apprenticeships and stuff, is you're kind of locked in. We today, kids can go in whatever field they want.
And that's interesting, exactly what you say, because my daughter was in the 4th grade. Mm-hmm. And I think I told the story where I went to parent-teacher night and asked the teacher, how's she doing? And the teacher, she's doing great. She's doing wonderful. I said, good, because she has to be ready for university when we go back to America. Mm-hmm. And the teacher's, wait, she's not doing that great. So wait a minute. To me, great is great and not great is not great. So what is it? Well, your daughter is not university material. Really? You can tell if a 9-year-old is university material or not. And it was like I smacked her. All of a sudden she realized, I stepped in it. I messed up, But see, that's the mentality of the German, that if you're the son of a doctor, a lawyer, a person from the professional class or
yes,
they assume the kids, they're going to push them in that way.
And it's like the parents don't fight it.
Right. Exactly. They don't fight it.
It's this is the class we're in. We don't marry up. We don't marry down.
Right. And so I quickly told the teacher that not your job to determine what
they're playing God with your kids.
Exactly. Your job is to teach them.
Yeah.
And to get them there. And seriously, and it was like a revelation to her all of a sudden. Well, for the rest of the year, she made it her aim to get my daughter into the gymnasium. Mm-hmm. And then, which my daughter, her grade was like 2 points below the cutoff to get in. So then the next year, after the 5th grade, you go to what's called Realschule.
Yeah.
Which is the middle tier. Mm-hmm. And she stayed there, but you could see her improving all along. And the reason was that teacher all of a sudden changed her attitude about what my daughter could do, and she got her there. And all of a sudden, it's like my daughter started enjoying school. She started working harder, and her grade. And we came here, and she started Victory and finished at Union, but she had a 4.0 every semester at both schools.
Yeah.
And, I ended up getting a full ride to Pepperdine because of it.
Full ride Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Pepperdine, I know, is a tough academic standard school. They're out LA, right?
Right.
Malibu, actually.
Right, Malibu.
Right? But I was talking to an attorney, actually the attorney's wife here in town, a couple of years ago. And I mentioned our podcast, and I said, yeah, Eddie Huff and I do it. And Eddie Huff, I said, well, you probably have heard him on the radio. He says, would he be related to Talitha Huff? I said, that's his daughter. And she's like, wow, she's an amazing young woman. And your daughter hadn't been in town here in how many years?
Many.
Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah. And this lady, she's about my age, but she still remember. Evidently, Talitha had been her babysitter when her kids.
Right.
See, and they are very tough on academic standards. In fact, their daughter got a Fulbright scholarship.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Talitha, she worked full time. She started at Tippins. Mm-hmm. And then after Tippins, she ended up in, what's the Italian place? Mazzio. No, not Mazzio. No. Zio's, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she worked there the whole time she was in high school. And she would get off of work at 10 or 11 at night. And then I'd hear her up in her room just studying, doing all her homework.
You remember the early days of talk radio as we know it now? Bruce Williams used to be on. Yeah. Bruce was one who said, he says, I worked full time when I went to college. All my kids did. And don't go the student loan route.
Yeah, no, you're right. And see, I had friends in Texas that it actually helped me to know that, to get my kids to work. And because they had two boys, their boys in high school had full-time jobs, not full-time, but part-time jobs after, and they played a sport. And I was thinking, when do they have any free time? He said, they don't. And I said, well, how's their school? I said, they're all 4.0 students. I said, what? He said, yeah, we've learned that the less free time that kids have, the better they do in school.
How about that?
And I was like, wow. And so that helped me. But and it's funny because two of my boys were athletes. Okay. So they played soccer year round, and then they played club, and then they played football, and one played baseball as well, And those two were the ones who were the least academic of my four kids. I mean, they all still had 3.0 averages all. But my daughter,
well, you don't get into Coast Guard Academy without good
right.
marks.
Well, no, but he's not one of them.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the other two.
The other two. The other two was my daughter, and then the number 2 boy, number 3 child.
Okay.
He was another one, and he did the same thing. He got a job early, worked at Zio's, started at Target, then worked at Zio's his last 2 years of high school, paid for his own car, his own insurance, and all of that kind of stuff. And he's the one that ended up at the Coast Guard Academy, and now he's a pilot and all that other stuff.
Right.
But so this is for you people out there. Don't be afraid to get your kids to work early. Let them get a job early, and then still get their schoolwork done.
Rick Warren, the famous book, Purpose Driven Life, one of the first things he says, and they're so true, he says, there is honor in all work. Never look down on anything as beneath you.
Right.
There truly is honor in it.
Hey, boy, man, we have not covered a whole lot of news today. It's been more social talk.
Yeah, well, we had started out with some great economic and investment advice. Live from the Andy Huff Insurance Studios.
But I'm sure that there's a whole lot of other news that you can use out there. But anyway, above all, we're in still perilous times. Those that are of a conservative nature, it's good that Donald Trump is president, and we've got a presidential, conservative administration. Conservatives own the legislature, Congress, and the Senate. But the danger in that is it's times like this when we let our guard down.
That's right. But we got DEI on the run. We are cleaning it from sports. We are cleaning it and the whole transgender garbage is being largely discredited. Right. We're seeing the NCAA, the Olympics is straightened up. Trump is winning. He is winning like we never saw it happen.
But don't let our guard down and don't stop the fight.
Yeah.
It's got to, we've got to stay vigilant because we'll become lazy and the other side will revamp and they'll come back and boom, next thing we know, 666.
There we go.
People walking around with tattoos on their forehead.
Don't compromise. Stay free.
No. Hey, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week.
All right.
Let me ask you.